join us. And I've got the draft on the TV, and we are going to talk about the picks as they come in, provide analysis, and just have a good time here enjoying the spectacle that is the NHL entry draft. Are we all sold on Alexis Lafreniere going at 1? Like, does anybody expect anything to the contrary? Like, even the possibility of Quinton Byfield? I mean, I kind of don't, but, you know, for content.
Should I have Cam here?
Yeah. Cam would have a lot to say on this topic.
I heard New York had offers for the first overall pick, but like every year, they won't end up trading it. So I guess they're taking Lafreniere for sure. And I don't see any reasons why he shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I really kind of hoped that they would trade down with Los Angeles. Like, that just felt as if it was a perfect match. You've got LA, who needs a dynamic, game-breaking talent. You've got New York, who needs a center. It just felt like a match that was so perfect. And I don't know, I guess it's just not going to happen, but would have been really good for us too. I mean, what a story to write about that would have been, you know?
Or we might just see a big surprise and they do end up taking Byfield, but I don't think it's likely. It does fit their needs. So they have some really great wingers. They just need someone down the middle.
I'm going to pretend that you didn't just speak ill of Patrick Kodorenko by proxy. Okay, he is going to be a first-line center. You just give him a few more years. Maybe if he learns how to skate, it's all there, man. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I pegged them as like a perfect option for number 1, you know, in terms of a really compelling team to have that pick, but no dice. I've got to say, I really feel robbed right now. Like, they're just showing on TV the draft floor in Dallas, and it just occurred to me that the last draft that I got to travel for took me to Dallas, and I was supposed to go to Montreal this year.
I was so looking forward to that. Like, I wouldn't have to travel very far because I live near Montreal, so it was going to be my day. I was so looking forward to that, but I guess you have to adapt.
You know what? I would be very surprised if they don't just move next year's draft to Montreal, like, assuming there's still a society to have a draft in, which we can't take for granted. But I really hope that's the case anyways, because I've desperately wanted to visit Montreal for a long time. Want to hit up Schwartz's, and got to make up for that next year. We hearing anything about Marco Rossi's landing spot?
I heard he was going to fall in this draft. Maybe like a Cole Caulfield, the last one.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about that myself too, just because no matter which team I talk to, he just doesn't come up, which is always kind of alarming or suspicious, I suppose. It's like maybe they're trying to keep him a secret, or their interest in him rather. Maybe they just, I don't know, maybe he's going to be the player who, for reasons that aren't especially clear, drops to the teens. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, and I wonder if sometimes scouts and general managers play some tricks with the media, like, oh, we're definitely not targeting that player, and then on draft day, just end up selecting him.
Oh yeah, they love to throw smoke screens.
Marco Rossi, yeah, go ahead.
I think if there is a guy who's going to tumble out here, it's going to be Rossi. And anywhere like after 5 is larcenous for him. I mean, the underlying profile, the point totals, everything just suggests, oh, and like watching him play, everything suggests a guy who could be a first-line center in the NHL. And oh, if he doesn't play center, yeah, it looks like he's going to be a first-line winger. That would be terrible. No, he's going to be great. He's got the full toolkit. It's a shame that he's not an inch and a half taller, but everything else is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if your worst possible outcome for Marco Rossi is like the second coming of Mitch Marner, I'm pretty comfortable taking that in the top 5. You know, especially if he doesn't have the same caliber as father as Mitch Marner. As I look at his cap friendly page and cringe a little bit, Oh man, that contract for Marner. Oof. But still a hell of a player.
Yeah, I don't really see why he couldn't play center. I guess there's a size, but it just depends on how you choose to develop him. It's a bit of the same thing for Cole Perfetti. So if you want him to be a center, he can be a center. If you want him to be a winger, he can be a winger. It just depends where you fit him on your lineup at first. And
I mean, the thing about Marco Rossi and like the size question too is I don't really like buy into that too much, just because even if his height isn't especially noteworthy, I mean, the dude is like what 190 pounds in spite of the fact that he's like 5'5". I mean, his legs are as wide as my torso, and I'm a chubby dude. Like, he is very muscular, and I think they just put out an article today where I think he put in like 600 hours of fitness this summer.
600, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 600 plus hours. That was by Luke Fox, I believe, for Sportsnet, and I was just like, what the hell? I haven't done that in my life. And then I don't know, it's pretty impressive stuff. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what's your fear if he's too small to play in the NHL? Like, he's going to get pushed around. Pretty hard to imagine that happening, having seen him play in the OHL and then, you know, reading something like that. I don't know. I think he's going to do just fine.
Yeah, I mean, if he's that dedicated to his training, he might end up looking like Martin St. Louis, which just small and so hard to move. So it won't matter, honestly.
That picture that Dimitri used to love tweeting out of Martin St. Louis' legs. I was just like, oh my God, no wonder he survived in the NHL.
There's that really great gif of like some dude just like hopping on Rossi's back and he just like squats and like stands up and throws him off. Like, no, this isn't going to be an issue for Rossi at all. He's like, in hockey, the level of athleticism doesn't come down to how tall you are. It comes down to how strong, how much fast twitch muscle fiber you have. And, you know, he checks off all the boxes there. It's a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, having read that article, I would take Marco Rossi against Kevin Ball in a fight.
Yeah, maybe not.
You know what? Give him some stilts. Maybe get him like a little step-up bench. He's got him.
Are you allowed to hit below the belt? Because that could work, but otherwise,
that's about all he can reach.
And really, we're talking about him at center, but what makes a good center? It's not necessarily size or physicality. It's ability to support teammates, to be at the right time, at the right place at the right time. You need a player that's very aware, and I don't know who shoulder checks more than Marco Rossi in the OHL. So he's always in the right spots. So I really have no concern about his ability to transfer to, not transfer, because actually a centerman right now, but to translate to the NHL in a center role.
Well, I mean, he does so much of his damage, like right at the net, like the side of the net. He's a little bit like Theodor Niederbach in terms of like where he sets up. Which to me is where a center should set up during offensive zone play. So yeah, it almost seems like you'd be kind of galaxy braining it if you tried to move him to the wing, just because he's so comfortable at center already.
And if you want him to be a winger, there won't be any problem, because he can handle forward play, and his awareness will still translate, because every time a defender will pinch on him on the wall, he will be able to skate forward and just absorb some of the hit and make a pass under pressure anyway. So, but like Mitch said, I think if you don't get a first line center, you might get a first line winger who equally drives play. So, and in today's NHL, it doesn't even matter the position as much. As long as you can drive a play, you can be the main element on the line. You can be a winger or center. You still make a great impact.
I like the existentialist view of positions, which is that they are a social construct. I've been listening to too much Reese. You can tell that I need to stop hanging out and talking with him, because I don't know, I'm starting to buy into that theory. That reminds me, David, have you seen my tweet about Rivas Christian Ansons? And I think that spiritually he is a defenseman. Okay, and I wanted to run this theory by you. When is Rivas Christian Ansons at his absolute best? when he can keep play in front of him. He plays almost exclusively on top of the puck. And he's a phenomenal rush defender. I think he's playing the wrong position. Of course, he's not going to go today. He might not even go tomorrow, but I just wanted to pose that theory to you.
Yeah, and really some players end up playing a position as they rise through the ranks in junior hockey, but maybe it's not in the right fit. Like we talked about Jamie Ploy. At some point, probably his team needed defensemen or he wanted to play that position, but maybe Eagles and top 10 in this draft if he played as forward all his career. But someone or himself, someone decided that he was going to be a defenseman. So that's what he is right now. But I think you're right to say that positions are somewhat of a construct. We decided that it's centerman and wingers and defensemen, and some kids are going to play this position or this position. But really, maybe if we kept it positionless for longer, maybe our development would be better.
All right, here's my hot take for this conversation. Marat Kushnedinov on defense. He's already a terrific defensive player. He's so fast, so explosive, but he always likes to take the outside lane on guys. You get him moving the puck up the ice, beating, sucking in the first forechecker, looking off the next two, and then working straight up the middle. That would be amazing. I could get behind that.
All right. The only problem I have with that theory is Kusnetdinov, there are certain players who you have to teach them to drive the middle of the ice and you have to teach them to go to the crease. Like Kusnetdinov can't really get the puck there himself, but once the puck is transported to the center lane, he just throws himself into that part of the ice with reckless abandon. And I find that really fun to watch, Mitch, and I would hate to have that taken away from me.
But just imagine, though, if he's trailing the rush or something, and then you give him the puck, and then he gets it right at the top of the blue line or whatever, and then it's just a quick stride, accelerate right through, straight down the middle, Broadway, wrister, top shelf. Boom. Marat Kushnedinov defense. Make it happen.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. I don't actually see it, but if you're confident in that assessment, then I think you might be right. But did you think he could make plays through layers? And I don't see that in Marat's game. It's true that he's a great skater. I think he could be an equally great backwards skater, the rush defender. But right now, his best attribute is probably forechecking and angling. Oh yeah, I can see it now. I think about his game. Maybe
you can see the light bulb go off on David's screen.
I would like to see Justin Sordiff on defense as well. I would, even if it's just for a game or two. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, but he's so good on the forecheck as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But Justin Sordiff is such a strange player from this year's draft. I could watch every single one of his games and still not have any idea what to think of him, it feels like.
Yeah. He's really, I find him really enjoyable to watch. Obviously the energy that we got last season in the 18-19 season just didn't translate full time, unfortunately. But, he's still a wicked forechecker. He's still very good at weaponizing retrievals as both a playmaker and a shooter. He's a really, really interesting player. And on top of that, he is a terrific defender, whether he's above the play or getting behind it and back pressuring players along the boards. He's really strong. One of my big regrets actually was having him so low on my board. I wish I had him a fair bit higher.
Did you make that correction on your own board?
No. I have seen the light, but afterwards.
It happens.
Yeah. The other one that I kind of wish was maybe I wasn't so harsh on Emil Andre. I don't know.
Oh, so you watched him again?
Whoa! Yeah. Let's not say things that we can't take back.
Maybe.
Emil Andre is such a trip for me. There are a few players where I feel as if people are gaslighting us. Theodor Niederbach is one where it's this guy who played third line minutes and led Frölunda in scoring is somehow not good offensively. Sure, why not? But another one is Emil Andre, where people are he can skate well. No, he can't. He has great offensive instincts. No, he doesn't. He has good hands. These are not the same thing. I just have no idea what people see in Andre that Anton Johannesson doesn't do better.
I think one of the things with Andre is that he doesn't have the speed, but if you're gonna play in the offensive zone, you don't need to have that like long range speed, so he can probably be like a productive player in the offensive zone, even though he doesn't have speed. That's what I think it is.
Is he someone that you can see moving to forward, since we're changing everyone's position?
No, I don't think he won't be a forward. Although I could see that he will be like a meatball throwing himself at opponents along the boards.
I mean, that's one thing I do love about Emil Andre is that somehow this 5'9" Swedish defenseman who can't really skate well threw some of the biggest hits of the entire year, and it makes no sense, but I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's good. Even in the SHL, Andre threw some just deadly hits. Is anybody else watching the NHL broadcast right now? I gotta say, our man Gary Bettman, it looks like he's aged like 20 years since he handed out the cup. Like, my man's is looking rough.
I gotta say, I love in the Lafreniere living room how they've got like the 2 bottles of Gatorade just like seamlessly put on the living room table.
It would be even better if it was something like he's got a bottle of like Heinz ketchup, you know? Alexis Lafreniere enjoys putting ketchup on his poutine. Look at this seamlessly placed bottle.
Oh, you really have to change your pronunciation of poutine. It's not the same thing, man. What you just said.
See, I thought that I was pronouncing it like the appropriate way when I just said it.
No.
No? Rob's listening right now, our producer, and he's like, what the fuck are they on about? Rob, in case you haven't heard, we have like one dish in Canada that is ours, and it's not even really ours. It's like strictly a Quebec thing, and it is poutine, fries covered in cheese curds and gravy. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's called a poutine, though.
Poutine?
Yeah, you shouldn't confuse the 2 words.
All right. Am I getting closer?
Well, one is the oldest profession in the world, and the other one is a dish. So I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Oh, wait a second. Okay. Okay, I got you, David. I hear you. I'm just gonna start pronouncing it like an Anglo again. There's much less risk. All right, let's see some draft picks. You know what? I really hate when the first overall team like exhausts the entirety of their clock. It's like, you've been on the clock for months, okay? This did not just start today. You should have been able to file your pick the second that your name was called, and you should not leave us waiting here. It's very rude. That's my opinion anyway.
Maybe you always think that they're going to have a super amazing trade offer, but I don't see that happening.
I just love that idea. Like, some team is just balking at what New York wants, and then it's like as soon as the clock starts ticking, they're just like, whoa, hold on a second. Sudden change of heart.
Let's trade our entire team to New York for the first overall, because that's what's going to take.
Okay, I just noticed something. So New York had 3 first-round picks in 2018. They are organized in our top 75 prospect rankings in the exact opposite order in which New York grabbed them.
Really?
Yeah, because it went Kravtsov was, oh, wait a second, was Lundqvist before or after Miller?
After, I think.
Yeah.
It was like 27th or something, and Miller was right in
early 20s. Okay, then yeah, it is the exact opposite order, which just goes to show that the draft is voodoo.
Yeah, really. As long as you have 3 first-round picks, you can make a bunch of picks and get good players. The more darts you have.
Unless you're Boston, in which case it's impossible.
I'm not sure it's even possible to make a mistake like that again. Well, they at least got one player out of it.
I'm getting a transmission from our producer, Rob. Apparently, our listener and viewership from the Massachusetts area just dropped, completely flatlined.
That was so surprising when that happened. Like, it was shocking to me.
I was watching that draft with two people who have since moved on to NHL teams, and we were like actually jumping off the couch, like besides ourselves, laughing. Especially like the Senetian pick. That was the one where it was like, what the, you know? I mean, even Zaboral was a pretty big reach, especially when you're looking at like Matt Barzell or
what I remember, Zaboral was rumored to them like for quite a bit of days before the draft.
And funny enough, the only pick that has worked out from that group of three is now on the trading block. Go figure. Go figure.
So wasn't he the Thomas Chabot's partner?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't watching prospects as closely that time.
And Thomas Chabot went a few picks after him too, which we love to see.
What happened there?
Boston happened. So apparently this was the scoop I got because I did a lot of asking around, and I was like, how does this happen? Was my question. Like, how do these 3 first-round picks happen? And apparently Boston basically just panicked because they had been preparing. Like, the reason they acquired all of these first-round picks was so that they could package them to move up and draft Noah Hanifin. That is what I heard. And apparently when Carolina refused to move from that spot and took Noah Hanifin themselves, Boston just completely were scrambled. They had no idea what to do with the picks, which might actually be even more unforgivable.
So with Matt Barzell, and I know he was injured that season, was that much of a mitigating factor not to pick him there? Like, at least with one of them?
Sorry?
Like Matt Barzell wise, like it's kind of weird. Like I know he was going through injury problems, but like to take a flyer with one of them, like
you would think. And we've got one off the board. We've got Alexis Lafreniere going to the New York Rangers.
Wow, big surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. David, I think this is your moment. The floor is yours. You can wax poetic about Alexis Lafreniere.
I think I got all of Alex Lafreniere's worst game this season, and I still thought he was going to be the first overall pick. So I got a bunch of his game where he didn't even get a point, but was still the best player on the ice by far. He can pretty much do everything you want. So if he has teammates open, he can make plays. He's a shooter too, and a pretty good one. And his main selling point, I think, is deception. So the way he can manipulate defenders and just always find teammates by moving them out of passing lanes, and he always picks the best play available to him. And the main weakness in his game was his skating, but during the year I think it improved a little bit to the point where we felt comfortable putting it as a 5.5 on our draft guide, which means slightly above average for the NHL. He might not be slightly above average skater right now, but he projects to be. So his stride recovery improved, and he added a bit more speed. So I think he, even if that first doesn't project as as great a transition player as some of the best in the NHL right now, if you combine his deception and his ability to manipulate defenders and he added speed, I think he could even trade in transition just as well. So he's pretty much a complete package in this draft. You can't pick anyone else better.
Yeah, I mean, that just about sums it up. The TLDR of that, very deceptive passer, very good. The highlights that they are playing right now on Sportsnet are just like captivating stuff. I'm sure you've seen this play, David, where he basically is getting held with his left arm and then uses his right to one-handed sweep the puck to his teammate. Damn, what a special assist.
He's super adaptable. So if one play closes, he always has another one in his mind, and a third one, and a fourth one, and he always hits it. So you can't really shut him down completely unless you use multiple players and great angles. He might have trouble at first in the NHL, but I think he will adapt so quickly, probably faster than Jack Hughes did in the last draft. He has better physical tools too, so he can protect the puck. He's a better board player. Yeah, pretty much. I think by the end of next season, he's going to be an impact player for the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I could see that. I think he'll be like a 50 to 60 point guy, like right off the hop. The draft gets interesting now. I have no idea what the LA Kings are going to do. So back channel chatter has them taking Jamie Drysdale in this spot, but all of their insiders have been pushing back against that and suggesting Tim Stützle is the play here. Haven't heard anything about Quentin Byfield though. That kind of, I don't know, that seems bizarre to me, but I guess they have enough centers in LA. Like actually between Velarde and Madden, Turcotte, Dudas, Kupari. Am I missing anybody? Oh yeah, Akil Thomas. They're pretty flush at that position.
They don't have anyone of this caliber though. Even Kupari, which probably is their best center prospects.
Oh no, Turcotte ahead of Kupari.
Oh yeah, I don't know why I blanked on Turcotte, of course. So
well, because you're trying to wipe out the trauma of watching Wisconsin last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so
which I totally can relate to, honestly. Like that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so even if they have Turcotte, I think they should still take Byfield because he projects #1 center, and I think that won't be Turcotte's ceiling now after this season. Well, how he played at the college level, so I think they still have holes at that position, and at some point, Kopitar is going to retire, so they're going to need someone to play that position, and Byfield is the complete package. Still, sure, he's still very young. He has development to do. Rachel had a great article on this, but he projects as an average superior skater, even at the NHL level. He's physical. He can make any kinds of plays. He can be both a playmaker and a shooter. Nothing like Lafreniere. It's just his ability to find open spaces and weaponize the periphery that he really needs to develop. But in time, because he still has, Alex Lafreniere is 1 year older almost, so he still has time to develop.
Yeah, I think in terms of ceiling, Byfield has the best one in this draft. You know, I mean, the likelihood that he hits on it might be lower than Lafreniere, but in terms of like to get a center who can skate that well with those hands, I mean, pretty impressive.
And I think we collectively have more concerns about Tim Stützle. I don't think he's a center at the next level. His defensive game needs a lot of work, so he probably ends up as a very good top 6 player on the wing. So I think in terms of upside, the choice is pretty clear for me, at least.
Oh, the pick is in.
Los Angeles Kings are proud to select with the 2nd pick in the 2020 NHL draft. From Sudbury Wolves to the entire hockey.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That's a good smoke screen. Wow. Okay. Props to LA.
I said on the last one, it was all just misdirection, and that turned out to be the case. That's the right choice for the LA Kings right there.
Yeah, 100%. That is absolutely the right choice. Now, what do the Senators do? Like, I could see them going for Jamie Drysdale here. I could see it.
I think Stützle is probably the best fit for that team. I mean, you have the draft's most exciting player, and just like the pace, the hands, the work ethic, everything just off the charts. He's going to put fans in the seats, and that's really important.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, they don't really have that game breaker in their system. Like, if not Stützle, then who is that player? I mean,
Lucas Raymond.
Oh yeah, Lucas Raymond would be nice. But I don't know if Lucas Raymond is like as pure as purely entertaining as Stutzla is.
Do you want it entertaining or effective?
Yeah, no, for sure. Believe me, I totally agree with you. Like, if I'm running a team right now, Stutzla is not even in consideration. It's a little bit early for my taste, but trying to sell tickets, maybe? I don't know.
Room to improve for Quinton Byfield. Face-offs. All right.
And that's why you tune in to the Elite Prospects draft coverage, because we will not be mentioning face-offs tonight.
Well, about that.
So we've got some messages here. We've got one from Alex Corleone who says, "Hey Mitch, good to see you." Mitch, you got a fan. We have another. We got another one here. Their name is entirely in Cyrillics, and it says, "Yo, David, mon buddy du Quebec."
Bonjour.
You know what? A message that ridiculous, like usually I'd say that was my alt, but I do not have the attention span for that right now. I can barely keep the stream going with the TV. I swear it wasn't me. Oh, nice. We get to see their fitness testing results. I hope we'll get to see Arizona's with the skull measurements. But for, I didn't know that medicine ball toss was one of them. Like, I'm just imagining.
Serious?
Yeah.
They do it.
I'm just imagining like a shot put like track, and they're just like spinning in circles and tossing that medicine ball as far as they can.
Did they really measure the skull of prospects?
No, that's just a joke about because John Chaika, he got fined and he lost picks because of doing illegal testing on the players. And so the running joke is that they were doing phrenology with some of their prospects.
Measuring their hockey area.
Yeah, exactly. This is the skull shape of a first-line center.
Maybe in 1950, because you need the player to be dead if you want to measure it.
Man, Ottawa's new logo, which is just their old logo, is so fresh. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's really good. They went back.
He's an elite skater. Forget the fact that he's huge. He's an elite skater, who is elite skater. But you have the fact that he's an elite skater, he's that big, and I think he might go somewhere.
Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I love how it took 2 picks and my mock draft was horrifically wrong. Like that didn't take long at all. And that's why I never take them all that seriously. They are mostly fun exercises to, I don't know, test your predictive skills. Oh, that's not very nice of Sportsnet. They show Canucks prospect Artur Silovs getting scored on. Very rude.
They're picking Stutzla here at 3. I can't imagine a scenario in which they don't.
That's where I would put my money.
Yeah, I just really want to reiterate that yet again. Stutzla here is at 3. This is going to be, it's a fine pick. We had him a bit lower on the EP board, but this is a fine pick.
Yeah, totally.
It's a bit rich for my blood, man, because like Lucas Raymond is so good.
Yeah, he's the premium version with a little bit less flash.
Yes, less flash, but much more substance.
Yeah, you have fewer developmental concerns with Raymond as well, because you don't have to beat out the overhandling. You don't have to work on the off puck offense, movement, timing, stuff like that. To Stutzla's credit, he has greatly improved his willingness to attack the inside throughout the season, to the point where I'm not entirely sure that's a massive concern. It still needs a tweak here or there, but it's not a huge concern going forward.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think the people, though, who are like Tim Stutzla is going to play in the NHL next year are completely out to lunch. Like, if he plays, it's because Ottawa can't afford to put anyone else in their lineup. Like, he's not ready for the NHL. Like, we're going to find out Canadian Tire money translates really highly to euros, and that's why Tim Stutzla was willing to play.
It's really going to be a huge jump for him if that happens. I talked about Lafrenière being very adaptable, but I think that's a weakness of Stutzla right now. He probably was faster.
The lack of adaptability.
Yeah, he probably was faster and more skilled than everyone in the lower levels of hockey in Germany. So when you can just speed by defenders and dangle them easily, you don't really need to think about it a second and third play. But right now, it really needs to just maybe not play in the Dell next year, but maybe in a league that's slightly better, so that you can learn to do that, change his plays and adapt against when the defensive picture changes.
Is Alex Trebek about to make the Senators pick? Is anybody else seeing this? Please tell me I'm not the only one who has a feed with Alex Trebek right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting it now, too.
Yeah.
Yep, Tim Stützle. Yep.
No.
We got it. You know what? I it's not what I would have done, but it is a totally fine pick. It's a bit rich for my blood. I don't think that he's ready to play NHL hockey next year. I don't know if he's going to be a center at the NHL level, but he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Like, no matter what he does, it's going to be very exciting. And the other thing, too, is, like, his ceiling, I think, is perhaps a bit higher than Lucas Raymond's. And I think that makes him a bit interesting in this spot. I mean, even if he's got a little bit of a ways to go to catch up to him in terms of, like, rounding out his game and becoming a more complete player, he's a hell of a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there simply isn't another combination of pace, puck skills, and passing in this draft class. Like, he overwhelms players to the point where, like, their processors are just fried. He erases decision making. He is so quick, so fast at what he does. It's truly a unique skill. It's just a matter of learning how to harness that. And as David mentioned, there are habits that come from playing lower level hockey. You know, he can rely on deking through, speeding past everyone rather than making the pass to start the give and go and so on. But he's a high upside guy. He's got first line winger ability, and at third overall, he's certainly a good pick, I think.
If he does end up playing in the NHL, he has the tools to survive, though. So he's super quick and he can still make plays. So he might not get a lot of points at first, but I don't see a problem in him staying there. It's just that for his development, maybe it's best if he gradually rises in level instead of making a huge jump.
I would have loved to see him. Like, I think he's going to stick in Adler Mannheim for the foreseeable future, but I would have really liked to see him spend this year in Sweden.
Yeah.
You know, or the KHL even. Just rise up one further rank than the DEL. Maybe not the KHL because he'd probably contract COVID just like the rest of the league. I don't want to wish that on anyone right now, but I definitely think that a year away from the NHL, whether it's the SHL or Liga, would have benefited his game. Extremely minor aesthetic tick. I would love if we could get umlauts on jerseys instead of having like Tim Stützle's name completely respelt for the NHL.
Yes,
I
think that would look much cooler.
I think a good reason for him to get out of the German league is because it's so uneven. Like, you have the 4 top teams and he plays for one of those, and then the other teams are just so much worse. So I think it would be really good for his development to play in a better league next season. And I don't think he should play in the NHL either, but yeah, I guess we will see.
Yeah, we might all be wrong, and he's going to score 60 points next season.
I mean, that's usually the way it goes. Like, we rank him 8th. We clearly love his game and think that he's a phenomenal prospect, but because we don't think he's phenomenal enough, he's going to win the Calder. He's going to have 100 points, and the elite prospects mentions are just going to constantly be filled with psychos yelling at us. It's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So now, who's next?
Ooh, I keep hearing Perfetti or Askarov.
Corey Crondon is reporting Lucas Raymond.
Really? Interesting. Okay. I mean, that's the best player available. And Detroit is so far off from being competitive that they just have to keep accruing the best players available. So I'm pretty on board with that pick.
9 seconds ago, Elliot Freeman, where does Detroit is throwing a curveball? If the curveball is picking the third best prospect in the draft, then yes, that is a curveball.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straight curveball. Like, it doesn't curve a lot, just slightly.
The only
maximizing value at 4th overall. What a curveball!
They really caught the league off guard. The only curveball I could see here is Yaroslav Askarov.
Yeah,
truly. Like anything else, and I'd be like, yeah, that's more or less reasonable. And I think it's going to be really fun to see what happens with Ottawa at 5 too. Like, not to get past Detroit yet, but Ottawa Senators fans have a habit of losing their mind over the second first-round pick that Ottawa makes. So it was Shane Bowers the 1 year. Wait a second. No, Shane Pinto wasn't a first, so that doesn't track.
That was Bernard Docker, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bernard Docker. They were losing their stuff over. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. It's always my favorite to see which prospect Ottawa yells about, and then they become an impact player anyway. All right, let's go. Let's see Lucas Raymond here.
We're about a minute behind here in the U.S., so I'm watching Steve Yzerman highlights.
We're going to be in like the 3rd round tomorrow, and Joey's going to be like, guys, I got the 30th pick. I got it. Wow. That photo with that hair. Amazing.
I think the issue right here is that Detroit probably really wants a center with this pick. But yeah, if they go best player available, it's Lucas Raymond.
Oh, 100%. We've got another comment in here in the channel. Who is excited for Rossi on the Jets? Sure. I'm happy with it. Why not?
When is their pick?
They are 9th, I believe. Or are they 10th? Minnesota's 9th. They're 10th.
I can almost see it. It would be a mistake from everyone else, but well, not everyone else, but a lot of other teams.
Yeah. It was Lucas Raymond. That's not a curveball. Elliot,
that's a smart pick.
I'm furious. Okay, Christopher, we need you to give the very Swedish analysis of Lucas Raymond, and then promote all your phenomenal articles on this amazing prospect. This is your moment, the moment that you've been building up to all year.
Yeah, I've been talking about Lucas Raymond all year. I've followed him quite closely for 3 years now, and I love everything about his game. He's like a fantastic play driving winger. I think he's a really good skater. Underrated compared to some of the comments I've read this past year, but really good playmaking skills, very adjustable. He drives to the middle. He does like all the little details. He has a really good shot as well. He showed that last year at the World Juniors when he scored a game-winning goal in the finals against Russia as well. I think he's really good off the puck as well, especially on the forecheck. Works very hard, competes very much all the time. I just think like he's a complete package player. I think he will be a star player in the NHL in 5 years.
Yeah, I love that, Christopher. I go, this is your moment. This is your hype moment, and you just very calmly deliver in the most in the most calculated way. Let's get our Detroit Red Wings correspondent, Rob Love. He's a little bit shy. He doesn't chime in very often. Let's get the perspective of a Red Wings fan. Rob, how are you feeling about this pick? I mean, assuming you're still listening to us, and really that is a bit of a 50-50 gamble here. Still no sign of activity. So I'm going to interpret that as either producer Rob is extremely excited about this pick and he's shotgunning a beer right now, or he's extremely upset about this pick and he is solemnly shotgunning a beer right now. One or the other. And I got to say, like, 4 picks into the draft, there haven't been any real, like, sore thumb picks, if you know what I mean, right? Like, there hasn't been that one moment where you're just like, that's not right. This draft has gone by pretty smoothly thus far.
I think a Red Wings fan should absolutely be happy with this pick.
Yeah,
the best player available.
Too late.
And we talked about the positionless hockey and having players that can simply drive a line, even if they are wingers. And Raymond, like Chris said, is one of those players. He will carry a line, even if it's from the wing, and he will play F1 too, because he's pretty smart defensively. So that's the kind of player you want, even if he's not a pure center.
Did anybody see that play that was floating last week? It feels like every game now that Lucas Raymond plays, there's a new highlight that's circulating on Twitter. And there was one play last week where he like stick handles through 3 defensemen, does a hook pass to a trailer who's all the way on the opposite side of the ice. And I was just like, okay, the next time somebody asks me how I can rate Lucas Raymond ahead of Tim Stützle, I'm just going to show them this clip. Because, okay, for everything I like about Tim Stützle's game, and I like a lot about it, he has never made that type of play. Whereas Lucas Raymond, like, he is so smart. I think that's the thing that people really underrate about Lucas Raymond is how intelligent he is on the ice and what a great range of vision he has. Like, if you want somebody who can find the trailer, that's Lucas Raymond. If you want somebody who can problem solve against a secondary or tertiary obstacle, that's Lucas Raymond. It's really special to watch sometimes. And I just wish, my only thing is I wish we had more opportunities to see it last year. That's what I wish we had, you know, but he was playing on that 4th line, didn't get those opportunities. But now he is, and we're starting to see him really flourish in Frölunda.
Yeah, and it's
yeah, he's gonna have a fantastic season. No doubt about it. I think like after this season, people are gonna be like, he could have gone higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, gun to my head, that's the 3rd best player in this draft.
It's mine too. We talked about Stützle's ability to overwhelm you with skill. He's more of a volume scorer, meaning that he will attempt it over and over again to just dangle you and go wide on you or cut back on you. But Raymond is more efficient. So he played 4th line minutes last year, but he still made some pretty highlight reel where he plays. He will find best play when it's almost every time. So I think that's what separates them.
My hot take for this pick is Jake Sanderson. I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't know. I could see him making the jump here. I've seen on Twitter links between him and Ottawa, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Here's why I think you're right, Joey. It would be the perfect Ottawa Senators pick. It would be totally defensible. It would work out immediately. And every Sens fan on my Twitter feed would be losing their mind. It would just be perfect. I totally, like, I have no idea how people can watch Jake Sanderson play and not be like, this is a clear top 10 defenseman. Like, Christopher, I even read your scouting report from the 5 Nations, and even like back in November, you were like, yeah, this is clearly the best defenseman here.
Yeah, I really liked him at the 5 Nations. I wish I would have pushed a little bit more for him when we made our rankings, because I really liked him. But I was a little bit hesitant on his play in the offensive zone. Like, he did everything else so well. He was like dominant defensively, really good in transition. He was dominant in transition as well. It was like on the blue line, I wanted to see a little bit more like into playmaking and stuff like that.
Fair.
But I think he showed that more as the season progressed.
Oh, it happened. Joey's right. Jake Sanderson is going to Ottawa.
God, I hate this delay. It's killing me.
The delay is happening even on our screen. So Pierre Dorion announced the Jake Sanderson pick, and then they took the camera to Jake Sanderson, and he was just standing there for like a minute. He was just like, and okay, the best part about the Canadian feed, Joey, I hope you're getting this in the States, but the picture they have of Jake Sanderson, honestly, this is so mean what they're doing to this kid. Like, Daniel, back me up on this. Jake Sanderson does not look like the photo that they have put up on that stream. It is cruel. Like, this is the sort of photo that someone takes like as they're right at like hitting rock bottom as a celebrity, and they're like just escaping rehab or something. Like, it is honestly staggering what a poor photo choice they have used for Jake Sanderson.
I wonder why they can't just get like actual Sportsnet photos taken. I'm sure they have the access to the players, right?
Or just use his NTDP photo. That was fine.
Yeah.
Just take that. But no, this is really interesting. I mean, it's a good one. I know Christopher touched on it, but what you're getting in Sanderson is just, you're getting efficiency. I'm gonna turn off the volume because it's confusing me. But no, I mean, he's a smooth skating guy. He's got size. He really can do it all. In terms of transition, he's a guy who can take it end to end himself, or can find a quick outlet. He's a guy who is really versatile in terms of like his passing options, which is really nice to see in transition. You had a lot of guys who kind of had blinders on the NTDP back end, who would always kind of go to the wings, but Sanderson really does it all. You mentioned, I know Christopher mentioned kind of on the point, not a ton of skill. I don't know. I would challenge that. I would say that I've seen kind of as his season went on, I saw like a fair bit of skill, kind of walking the line, freezing shot blockers, moving with the puck down the wings and trying to find forward outlets. Not to mention, like, he's also an incredible hitter, something that I didn't really notice at first, but I talked to JD about it a little bit. This guy, like, he looks a little bit slight, like he's tall, he's a little bit lanky, but like, boy, when he gets guys, and even in college competition, he nails guys who are a good 20 pounds heavier than him.
Well, he just catches people on the tracks all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if your head is down on the tracks, like, Jake Sanderson's going to find you.
Yeah. And, I think ultimately I've had this conversation with some people this week. I think ultimately, Ottawa's rationale is probably, and this is something that I sent to you guys that I thought was interesting, that Jake Sanderson is closer to Jamie Drysdale offensively than Jamie Drysdale is to Jake Sanderson defensively, which, based on what I've seen from Jamie Drysdale, which admittedly is, it's a limited serving, but enough to kind of get a sense of his game. That's probably true. I think it's a little bit, oh, they're using some of our clips, JD, in the American. Sorry, they're using like some of the clips that we use, which is nice to see. But
that's how you know we're onto something. That's how you know we're on the right path here. You know what I will say about Jake Sanderson and people who want to tell you he's got no offensive upside. So for one, so much of defensive scoring is tied to power play opportunities, and if you're playing on the national team development program, they're all allotted more or less like the same with their 5-on-5 ice time. You just rotate through them. The other thing too is, like, he showed so much skill development towards the end of the year. Like, I thought from about January onward, Jake Sanderson started to really show us that he has some real offensive capabilities. So I know everybody out there who has a statistical model with like one input is going to be screaming about this pick. They're going to look horrifically wrong, and it's not going to take very long for it to happen. I mean, Mitch, he's got the best transitional data that you've ever come across in 4 years of doing this. And I feel like that's a pretty nice feather in his cap.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have the same sort of pressure in the USHL games as you do in the CHL forechecking wise, but it's still super impressive the results he's getting for massive, massive workload and breakouts and entries. Just incredibly impressive stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Mitch, he fared well against NCAA competition too, Mitch.
Yep.
Like he looked comfortable.
I was kind of bummed that you had to bounce for the second Ottawa Senators pick because it went down exactly as we predicted it. Like they would take a totally reasonable player that is totally fine in that spot. And I bet you, like, if we looked at our Twitters right now, it would be just like a horror scene. It would be Shane Pinto all over again.
Ron and St. Drysdale.
Promen's going full Woj on us right now. This is awesome.
This is,
spoiler.
I tip my cap to him. Like, this is really impressive. We have not seen something like this in the NHL before.
Yeah, so the NHL is going to be like, you can't do that, just like what they did with Woj. And then he's going to be like, I'm hearing from sources that Anaheim is strongly considering Jamie Drysdale.
My favorite Woj one was they are infatuated with this player at this pick. I wish Rachel was here. She would have a lot to say about Jamie Drysdale.
Oh, yeah.
All right, shall I take it away then?
Go for it.
All right. So Jamie Drysdale is nearly the full kit of what you were looking for in a defenseman. He is exceptionally mobile, all four directions, very strong rush gap control. However, he doesn't have a ton of stopping power yet. He's more of like a contain rather than prevent player. And there's nothing wrong with that. That should come with time. But when you look at him offensively, when he gets into that offensive zone, the passiveness that we see is in transition, the passiveness that we see from breaking up plays goes away. He's very aggressive getting off the point and making plays. And sure, it didn't keep up the entire season, but he is one of the best playmakers from the point. In fact, he was only second in my data set to Ryan Merkley, who there will probably never be another player like Merkley because he's just so uniquely good at weaponizing the 1% areas and turning them into scoring chances. And Drysdale also has an improving shot. We've seen it a couple times where he stands at the top of the circle and he hammers home this one-timer. That's very impressive. It's simply about trying to get him to be more aggressive, trying to get him to scan, look up the ice, find better options moving forward. And I think there are very few players who bring the skill set that he does in the NHL. He's probably more of a number two, but he's going to be a very highly effective player for all the things that he does. It's about getting him more involved in the play.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish that we got to see more from Jamie Drysdale this year. Like, just in general. That what he did as a draft -1 with Erie was so impressive. Like, I was expecting him to hit like 70 points this year, put up amazing two-way results. And I left pretty much every Drysdale viewing just like wanting so much more from him. But that's, everything's relative when you say I wanted so much more, right? Like, I wanted more from him, sure, but his baseline is so ridiculously high. And I think the other thing to consider too is if Anaheim is drafting you and you're a defensive prospect, that means you're going to be a Norris Trophy winner. And then they're going to have to deal you away because they've given Clayton Stoner a retroactive no trade and brought him out of retirement. He has to play with a walker, but they had to do it for team culture, had to be done. And then Seattle gets Jamie Drysdale for nothing.
Mitch, from what I could gather about like our conversations a while back, neither of us thought that either Sanderson or Drysdale was necessarily like your number one. And I know you can't guarantee this with anybody, but it to me at least, Sanderson slotted in as like a very good, probably second pairing guy. Like if he, he's not going to be like your stud all-star defenseman, in my opinion.
Oh,
yeah. I don't think that's outlandish. Like,
I just saw what you sent, Mitch. Sorry. There it is.
I don't think it's outlandish that like at some point, the difference between these two defensemen is just so razor thin that, like, there's a chance that one of them is just a second pairing guy and one of them is number two. There's a chance that both of them are just really good second pairing guys. And, like, ultimately, if the latter outcome happens, it might not be a value maximizing pick at 5th and 6th overall, but those are high value players to add to your team. And just given the skill sets that both of them bring, they're going to influence the game so much, just no matter if they're playing 21 minutes or 25.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I honestly feel like the lowest possible outcome for Jake Sanderson is like a number 3. Like I've just bought in so much on his game. The more tape you watch, it's just like, what could one possibly want that he didn't bring this year? You know?
Yeah, he's already really complete. You know, in my piece, I know I touched on like his hands. Sometimes his hands are a little bit out of sync with his feet, which caused issues for him, and maybe that's what Christopher is kind of talking about on the blue line. But I think that's something that got better for him as the year went on. And you know, he's just so efficient. Like a lot of times he's underhandling it anyways, so you don't really see him stick handling too much. But yeah, no, I think he's like Mitch said, whether he's like a 3 or a 2, like those guys you pay a premium for those guys through the trade and through free agency, right? Like those guys are valuable to you in the draft either way. I always think of like Adam Larson, and you know, so I think whether he's a second pairing guy or a first pairing guy, 2 or a 3, you know, the value you're getting from that pick is worth the pick.
That's the argument that Rachel always made when we created our draft boards. The value of defensemen or some of the wingers that are left on the board, even if it's a top 4 defenseman, a number 4, it's still very valuable. It's most as valuable as a first line winger in some cases.
Any guesses on who New Jersey is taking?
Well, Sanderson was like the one player that I really had pegged for them. Like there was always a risk that he wasn't going to make it to New Jersey, but I just thought that is just such a perfect match. Man, if I'm New Jersey, I'd probably take Perfetti here now. Perfetti or Holtz. I mean, like
Rossi.
You know what? I agree with you on the Rossi front, but I
don't see it happening. Yeah.
Put myself in the mind of a hockey man, one of the 200, of course. And it's like they've got Jack Hughes already and Nico Hischier. Like I just don't think that they would be willing to get a small center again.
Is this where Jack Quinn goes?
Nope, it's where Alexander Holtz goes.
Yeah, I hope so.
No, the pick is in.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a great pick to complement some of their centers. They lost Taylor Hall, but now they have a pure shooter.
Oh man, the idea of Alexander Holtz with Jack Hughes is terrifying. Like that's a duo that is just going to wreak havoc, especially because they're like so well suited to each other stylistically too. Now, the one question I have is about Alexander Holtz's hockey sense and his pedigree, and here's why. I don't know if anybody else is watching this Sportsnet feed, but they showed Alexander Holtz and his family somehow was celebrating in a room that had a chandelier that was like in front of all their faces. It was the most bizarre video.
Move the table out of the way.
Yeah, move the table out of the way. It was just like, how is this the room you chose to celebrate in? But other than that, I am such a huge fan of this kid's game. Like the ability to shoot while you're still in full stride is such an underrated skill. Like, and I think Alexander Holtz perhaps does it better than anyone in this class, getting that shot off while he's going at top speed. And that's so hard for a goalie to read. And one of the things that really encouraged me from Alexander Holtz and his tape from the SHL this year is how many garbage goals he's scoring. Like they just showed one again on the screen where he's picking up a loose rebound. It's like, would he have done that last September? Probably not. He'd probably be stuck at his own blue line still, hoping he could score from there. But I think this is where Christopher Hedlund waxes poetic, because that's a case he's been making all year.
Yeah, I really like Alexander Holtz. I think he really, like JD mentioned, improved the way he scores goals. There is still like room for improvement. He needs to learn a little bit. He was so used to like he could just get over the blue line and shoot, and it would be a goal. But he worked really hard on how he moves off the puck. He's become really good at finding open ice and to open passing lanes for the puck carrier, so they can make a play rather than them having to open the passing lane themselves. He works really hard as well. Defensively, he isn't like great, but he tries really hard. And I talked to his coach as well. He really liked how he like his willingness to improve and the work rate that he has. So it will take a while, but I think he will become a really good player. I think he could score like 35 goals or more in the NHL one day.
I mean, the other thing too is, and I don't know if anybody else can speak to this, but if you bring up Alexander Holtz to somebody on the NHL, like the team side, they rave about this kid. Like the universal praise that the NHL has for Alexander Holtz, he must be the most amazing kid on the face of the earth, because they will tell you that he works harder than anyone in the gym. They will tell you that he works harder than anyone in terms of like staying on after practice has ended, working on his shot, working on his defensive abilities, going to the video room. Like he's got that kind of drive. I don't know if it's the same as Elias Pettersson, who has like an evil competitive drive. Like the thought of losing is so anathema to him that it drives him to psychotic ends. But here's the thing. I will take the lesser of that to have a smiley, happy Swede who can score 40 goals every year like Alexander Holtz. Like I think he is such a good fit with New Jersey. It's I don't know. It's rare when you get a moment in the draft where you're just like, I love this, and this is one of them, because it's just like the thought of him with Jack Hughes. It's the only thing that satisfies me more than the thought of Alexander Holtz with Trevor Zegras. Like I felt a bit upset. I felt like we were robbed of that for a second, but business is booming again.
Yeah, and we talked about his release and also his hockey sense, but to score goals in the NHL, it's not only you need a release, but also you need to be able to time yourself in the right areas. So you need to be able to read open spaces in the right time to shoot, and as to not have defenders check you. And it's something that I haven't watched Holtz as much as Chris, but it's something that I saw him improve in Holtz game during the year. So he got better and better at finding small openings to put his stick and just instantly release on that. So I think he will be an NHL scorer. He will contribute on the power play, make any power play better because he can release in a variety of ways, and also score at 5-on-5. And he will provide off-puck value defensively too. And that might be the reason why they went with Holtz instead of the other shooter, who's also a playmaker, but more a shooter, Cole Perfetti. So that might be the deciding factor there.
I think Holtz is going to work better with Jack Hughes than Cole Perfetti would anyway. Yeah, to be honest.
I think that Perfetti is more puck hungry, so he wants the puck on his stick all the time, he wants to make the plays, and that's exactly like Jack Hughes. So you can't really approach a draft like this, thinking about your fit on the team, but to an extent, with the first 10
with the first like top 10, you kind of can a little bit. Come on.
It can factor a bit in your decision, and I can see Holtz complementing Hughes better than Perfetti for sure. Even if I think Perfetti might be the smarter player, and he sees a triple threat, so he can dangle, pass, or shoot. But he needs the puck to do that, and Hughes also needs the puck. So Holtz is a better fit.
Guys, chaos time! I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was happening.
What? Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get hype. This is it. Okay. This is the moment we've been living our entire year for. This is DEFCON 1. Wow. Yeah. Jack Quinn ahead of Marco Rossi. What? I'm breaking the no swearing rule. What the fuck? All right. Mitch, take the floor here. I know you've seen a lot of Ottawa 67s games this year.
Well, so this is an interesting pick because you had a player, Jack Quinn, who was otherwise mostly invisible as a 17-year-old. He's a late birthday, so this is his third year of OHL eligibility. And then suddenly he comes out of nowhere and scores 50 goals. So there are, just like from the very beginning, there are questions of translatability. Like, how is he going to be able to sustain that when he came out of nowhere? But there are very tangible improvements to his game. He started adding more variety as a shooter. He's a very terrific off-puck attacker. He's very aware, making smart, well-timed plays into the slot. He's an exceptionally dexterous shooter. The way that he pulls the puck through little tiny openings, he's got good two-touch finishing ability. However, he is a bit more limited as a passer. You don't really see a ton of skill from him in that regard. And in transition, he's more of a dump and chase winger. It's really difficult to see him adding a massive component to his game in transition beyond just getting down the ice and winning the foot race for retrievals. And I suppose that is one of the strongest elements of his game, is getting the loose puck, getting the defender on his back, cutting off their hands, and then taking the puck inside. But I severely question if he's going to be a clear-cut top six winger, especially when you have all of these players around him who seem to be tracking to hit that mark.
Yeah,
okay. I just came up with the tweet that sums this up. And I don't want to sound too self-congratulatory here, but this is a good one. This is what happens when a team fires their entire scouting staff.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
They probably liked him before too.
I mean, yes, but we shouldn't let facts get in the way of a good tweet, David.
I'm sorry.
That's not how we operate here.
We talked about the play driver versus more supporting players, and I think Jack Quinn is more of a support player. So he will finish, he will pressure away from the puck, and it will help transition play because he can make quick passes and, once again, finish. But you had two amazing play drivers in Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti. They don't, maybe Jack Quinn is a better skater, but I'm struggling to find strong points that Jack Quinn has over those two.
Better skater?
I don't know. It's pretty much equal, for sure against Cole Perfetti, but for Marco Rossi,
against Perfetti for sure.
Yeah, so I would have went with either of the centermen on this for sure. I like Jack Quinn. He has a bit of a Brendan Brisson elements that I know JD absolutely loves. So when he gets the puck in tight, he can tread it through defenders. He can turn pass receptions into the angles a bit and keep it under pressure. But he's not the one who's going to see through layers and advance the offense and really make him drive the play, like I said. So I think that's Cole Perfetti and Marco Rossi's calling cards.
What do you do if you're Minnesota? Like, could you have imagined a world where Minnesota is like, do we take Perfetti or Rossi or Askarov? Like, this to me is, well, I guess I could because I had them taking Rossi in the mock draft, but not like this. This is fascinating.
How bad do you need a goalie?
Well, they got Capo Kakinen. He's a pretty decent prospect. I think he was in the top 10 when Kat did her prospect rankings.
Yeah, I would still go with
picking.
Yeah. This is the Canucks revenge pick, or the bracket revenge pick against the Canucks. I think it should be illegal to have ads on during the draft. This is very, very upsetting. I am not a fan. Like,
at least yours aren't Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney doing accuracy shooting for New Amsterdam vodka.
Bragging about who did more misogynies today. Sorry?
Is this the 9th or 10th pick? I lost track.
This is the 9th. Okay. Now, if you were mistaken for thinking this was the 19th pick because of Jack Quinn going, that would be very understandable. But it is the 9th. I'm just thinking, like, think of all the momentum on social right now about the Jack Quinn pick and then going to like an ad for some crappy cell phone. I'm like inordinately upset by this.
Do we see a surprise pick here, like Mercer or something?
I'm not ruling out anything anymore. Like Jack Quinn just went 8th.
Yeah, you have there's concerns about Perfetti's space, so that might play against him, and Marcos Rossi's size. So maybe Mercer is someone that has more size and more pace to his game a bit, even though it's not massive difference between him and Perfetti on that. I could see it.
That 1,000-mile stare right now on Bill Guerin, that's the look of a man who has read Twitter after his recent trades. Justice. Yeah. Justice for Rossi. I can't believe that Rossi lasted to 9. This is insane.
I love everything about his game.
He's so fun. He's got such a high motor. Like, you never really associate that with somebody his size, but he's ferocious, even if he's not the fastest guy. I'm really wondering what's going on here, because it seems like every time somebody gets drafted out of the OHL, it's like a highlight reel of Artur Silovs getting just cooked. And I know he didn't have a great year, but sorry?
I wonder why.
Well, I mean, yeah, he didn't have a great year, so it's not by coincidence. But yeah.
He almost allowed 4 goals a game, dude. Like, of course.
Yeah, but he still had over a 900 save percentage. He still had
891.
Oh, he was 891?
Yeah.
Okay, how is it even worse than I thought? Wow, he really struggled.
It was a crazy year in the OHL. Everyone was scoring like crazy. Yeah,
okay, they're showing the videos right now, and it literally is Martin St. Louis legs right now. Like, it's happening again. This is Redux.
We talked about Alexis Lafreniere's ability to make the best play almost every time, and I see the same thing in Marco Rossi, the way he supports teammates, the way he advances the play by being in the right spot at the right speed, and just connects all offensive plays. So the offense always flows through him when he's on the ice. I think that will translate very well to the NHL. He's super smart, really, and he has skills to back it up too. So
yeah, I just tweeted something out that where, as in 18-19, he was one of the OHL's top by expected goals, and now he's one of the top by expected goals and expected primary assists. It just goes to show how line mates can change, but if you're an elite talent, you will find ways, new, exciting ways to create offense. And there's probably not a better example of that than Rossi, who has become a full-fledged dual threat attacker. Well, like, it's tough to really give him enough accolades. Like, he's exceptional in pretty much every regard other than being tall.
You know what? This pick, it totally tracks with Judd Brackett too, who just went to Minnesota, because I remember when the Canucks drafted Petrus Palmu before they completely tanked his development because they didn't like what he said in an interview. When they drafted him, Judd Brackett in his media conference was like, he's not small, he's short. And I like forever have just had that line burned into my brain, because I think it's one of the best ones yet to describe like certain small players. And that totally applies to Marco Rossi.
I wish we could find
Rachel got a tweet on there. That's awesome.
The line, he's not small, he's short.
No, they had a tweet by Rachel up there, I think.
Oh, no way.
On Sportsnet, yeah. That's awesome.
Rachel visibility is at its height. Yeah. We love to see it.
Wasn't the Wild looking for a center too? I think Marco Rossi would Maybe in a year or so, it fit very well with their team.
Man, Marco Rossi could play in the NHL next year. Like, I think that is totally within the realm of possibility.
Especially if he's training so hard. Maybe he'll have the necessary physique to do it. Because his brain is already there. He won't need to tune it that much. I think he can read the game and play at NHL speed.
Future looks pretty nice. I'll give a turn attention now to the Winnipeg Jets.
Wow. Okay. So the Winnipeg Jets are the rare team where if there was ever an exception for the best player available rule, they get it, because their blue line basically quit on them like over a 12-month period. If like there was ever an exception for a team that was just like carte blanche to draft a defenseman, even if it's way too early, it's the Winnipeg Jets. But then again, I did not think that Cole Perfetti would be available to the Winnipeg Jets. That changes everything. What should they do? Like,
who's the next defenseman after that? It's
probably Caden Gooley or Braden Schneider, depending on your mileage.
Yeah, it's too early for those two.
Early, man.
I guess you can draft Braden Schneider and try him on the blue line next year. They almost did it with Ville Heinola last year, but it wasn't good, so I don't recommend it.
But he had 5 points, David. Come on.
It was some of the worst NHL performances I've ever watched of a player.
Do you know how you win games, though? By outscoring the opposition, and he had 5 points.
Yeah, that's true, though. You got me there.
Yeah.
I really feel bad for Lassie, who has just had like the worst luck in terms of what he can attend and what he can't. Because like if he were here right now, he would be fighting on Ville Heinola's behalf. And it's just like that other meeting for the drafted prospects. It's like no chance. All the Finns are getting sewered, and nobody is here to stick up for them.
Yeah, it's my fault.
It's the exact opposite of the Christopher conundrum, which is whenever we mention a Swede that we like, he's like, actually, they suck.
I have a few that I like.
Oh, we got Cole Perfetti going to the Jets. All right, let's go.
This is setting the stage perfectly to have the two WHL defensemen fall into the laps of the teams that want them.
Yeah, 100%.
So we talked a lot about Cole Perfetti already, but like I said before, he's a pure triple threat player. So every time
triple threat.
Triple threat, like a triple deke in the Mighty Ducks. It actually does more than that. You can dangle. So in face of defender, you have three choices. You can pass, you can shoot, or you can dangle, depending on best option. And you can also manipulate defenders so that one option is open, the one he wants. So you can't really counter Perfetti, except if you're really fast and you angle very well. But if you're off balance slightly, or it will just take advantage of it. He's another player who's super smart, who finds open spaces very well, arguably even better than Holtz does, just reading the play, knowing where the open space will develop, and just getting to it at the right time to shoot. He protects the puck quite well too with his hands and body. He has to work on his skating for sure. And his stride is very wide, and can get him off balance sometimes. But if he can just raise his space a little bit and work on his skating, I think he would be one of those players that at the NHL level, he will be able to slow it down and break defenders by making them fall out of rhythm. So just by changing speed and changing directions at the right time. He's super good at knowing when an angle will be effective. So knowing the precise moment when that he made a defender bite on his feint, so he can make a pass to a teammate or just turn their feet to use them as a screen to shoot. He's a very impressive player. If he had better wheels, he would be would have been gone in the top 5 for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even as soon as if he had great wheels started coming out of your mouth, I was like, oh, he'd be in the top 5, like 1,000%. This is so interesting. The Central Division is just being gifted franchise centers, and I just don't think that's fair. Like, how was Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti available in these spots? This is just messed up.
Because of Jack
But then
Quinn.
again, the top end of this draft is really good. Like, after about the 35th pick, it just completely falls off a cliff. Like, I don't like any of those prospects. If they're taken in the second or third round, I'm already against them making the NHL. I don't like their odds. But the top end of this class, I think what we're seeing here in the enthusiasm of every pick except for Jack Quinn is just like, oh yeah, I guess this was a pretty good draft class at the top.
Now I'm very curious about Dawson Mercer and Anton Lundell, where to go. I think Mercer should be in the next few picks.
The thing about Mercer was whenever I would talk to a team about him, the team seemed so much lower on him than public outlets because of his feet. It always came back to Mercer's feet.
He has a skating mechanics problem. He can't really access his outside edge that well, so it limits his puck protection. And I guess he's not that speedy or quick, but he's another smart player with, I think, arguably the best hands in the draft, even over Lafreniere. For sure, he's got the best backhand in the draft. He can score with it. He can make superb passes over stick. He can do pretty much everything that he does with his forehand with the other side of his stick. So that's very valuable. If it seems like a small detail, it's very valuable because you're rarely caught in a play when you can use your backhand that well. And he's super skilled. He can beat defenders one-on-one. He's faster than opposing sticks. His hands are lightning quick, and he also has manipulative abilities. So he can make defenders go off balance and beat them one way. And he's a great shooter too. Power on his release, and once again, the backhand. So I would definitely draft him somewhere around here. I prefer Lundell. I think he's a smarter and more pro-like player who should improve as a goal scorer. But Mercer is a great pick coming up.
There's a tweet right now from Elliot Friedman, which suggests the Nashville Predators could draft Yaroslav Askarov. Well, he doesn't specify, but he says a goalie in this spot, and I don't think it's Joel Blomqvist's song just yet. We're a little bit early for the Joel Blomqvist sweepstakes.
You never know.
Yeah, you that's true. I mean, Zach Senyshyn was a first-round pick. But I think that this is a spot where Yaroslav Askarov would actually make a ton of sense. I would have no issue with that pick.
Who's next, actually?
Nashville. Nashville
okay,
is
good.
next.
I'm following.
Okay, here's my short list for Nashville. Lundell, Amarov. Oh wait, Jarvis is still available. Okay, never mind. There's only one player on my short list. It's Seth Jarvis.
He's the perfect fit for what Nashville is trying to build offensively, or what they appear to be. Who really knows what they're trying to do anymore?
Yeah, I have no clue what
they're trying to shed money, I think.
Yeah, I would take Seth Jarvis here. I wouldn't have an issue with Askarov, but Seth Jarvis would be the play.
Who's in the Nashville's goalie? I forgot. They have a pretty good one for a number of years.
They have the corpse of Pekka Rinne.
Yeah, but the other one.
UC Saros.
Yeah, thank you.
The pint-sized keeper.
I think Askarov might be the best pick here, but if you want a forward, go Seth Jarvis. He might bring the Brendan Gallagher attributes that Nashville wants out of.
Nashville is taking Askarov, according to
Prawn. Okay. Prawn Dog is on it.
Thank you, Prawn Dog.
We finally have our Woj. I am ecstatic. Especially, it couldn't be a better person than Prawnman.
Yeah, he's a really solid dude. I'm totally behind him being that guy. for this draft.
Same here.
For sure.
Is this the 11th pick or the 12th?
This is the 12th. Wait a second. No, this is the 11th. My apologies.
Yeah.
You know what? Askarov's going to be starting for them in 2 years.
Good.
So
You could have
there
a
you go.
development like Carter Hart. He's arguably a better prospect too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm still like, I said this last week. There are 2 goalie performances from this draft that that stick out for my year in terms of like live viewings, and it's Askarov against Canada in the gold medal game in the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. That was insane. Like the puck was in the Russian zone for like 5 minutes at a time, and there was nothing Canada could do to score. There was nothing. His athleticism, like his flexibility. I know if Catherine's listening right now, she's pulling out her hair. I don't have the advanced goalie lexicon, so that's all I got. It was super impressive. He's unreal. He is absolutely unreal. I have no issues with this pick, even if it's a goalie in the first round.
See,
He's
the
very
great
You say he cuts down the angle.
I would.
He's big.
He wins big games.
Yeah.
The great
When
thing
he's on,
about
he's
working
on.
for elite, the great thing about working for Elite Prospects is we do have an awesome Askarov scouting report from Catherine Silverman talking about his incredible reaction speed, but you don't see very many desperation saves because his movement is so controlled. He's always
he's
in the right
huge.
position. He's got strong tracking and recovery mechanisms. He's a great skater. Is so great. I mean, that's part of what makes his game so good. He's able to manage depth via that. Now, if you do look at Askarov's game, it's not like he's a perfect goaltender, but it's hard to think of a better goaltending prospect since Carey Price. The glove hand, I think, is the one that like often comes up in discussion, but he's a pretty exceptional player overall. And it doesn't matter if he's going 4th or going 15th, he's going to play and he's going to be a fantastic player for the next decade plus.
He's
Thank
a
you, Mitch.
right catching hand.
Is that the weird one?
Yeah.
Yeah. He catches really. Yeah.
He catches with the wrong hand.
Yeah,
the way that I
that's
would put it.
wrong. I'm pretty sure to make the NHL, you'll have to change that. So that's maybe the main hurdle in this development.
Okay, so I don't have the goalie know-how to test this out, but Sportsnet is saying that Yaroslav Askarov's comparable is Andrei Vasilevsky, and I have to admit, I see that and I'm like, they're just doing that because he's a Russian goalie. Exactly. And I wish we had Catherine here to tell us whether that is just like a hilariously poor comparable or if it, yeah.
I can see it. They're both Russian.
They both play goaltender. They stand up and then sometimes go in butterfly. They are of tall stature.
They're both calm, I think.
Guess who just beat Corey Pronman? Yo boy. Anton Lundell to the Florida Panthers at number 13 or at number 12. Fuck.
Great pick.
Wow. So now you're shams. Look at this. Here we go.
So what do we like in Anton Lundell?
Nothing.
Okay, good. Let's move on.
Lassie's at home right now, just single tears going down his face. Finnish visibility has never been lower. I mean, he's the best two-way center in this draft. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what you think about his offensive upside, no matter what you think about, if he's going to be able to hold down a first line role, which I don't think he can. I don't think he has that in him. He's going to be a fantastic middle six shutdown center, the type that's going to play tough matchups, be a total pain in the ass in the playoffs. Every team needs this type of player. I think this is a great pick for Florida.
Yeah, and to overcome his heavy boots, especially through like his first few strides, he's incredibly deceptive. He's a strong manipulator. When he skates into traffic, it always has a purpose. He's always trying to bring someone else in and then slip a pass through or hook a pass around a stick. He can be the big-bodied, slow-moving center in the NHL because he's so good. It's all about the mental pace that he has. He's a terrific player, and I do agree with the concerns that he's probably not going to be a number one seed. But I think I've seen enough improvement from him as a shooter. It's not just about pulling the trigger; it's about getting himself into the right positions, ducking around the back of a defender, popping out in the slot with perfect timing. That's an area of his game that continues to improve. And if you get that, you're looking at a dude who could pot 20 and 40 and providing top-end defensive results in the NHL.
Bronman just broke it.
Well, no. I broke it, Joey.
Step behind.
I broke it. You can tell that I'm not quite an insider yet because I get excited when I get scoops still. Like when I get a scoop, okay, and I don't react at all, that's when you know I've made it. That's when I'm getting an insider's. Like I'll have a BlackBerry, even though they're the most outdated piece of equipment on the planet, just for the security of it. That's when you know I made it. I really like this pick for Florida. I would have gone with Seth Jarvis probably. That would have been my pick, but I have no issues with Lindell in this spot for all the reasons that we stated. And you know what? In terms of NHL readiness too, like I don't know if Lindell is ready to play next year. He missed so much time in his draft year with injuries, with illness. He's going to need to kind of get that time back in his draft +1. But I think that in terms of NHL readiness, the order goes Lafreniere, Rossi, then Lindell. I think Lindell is right behind him.
Yeah, agreed. He plays inside systems very well already. He's a super safe player. I don't think coaches will have any problem putting him on the ice, even against top opposition. Maybe not top one, but against good forwards. So, yeah, he's probably, if not this year, next year, he should be in the NHL.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And you know what? I think he's got an underrated shot too. To be honest with you, like I don't think he's going to be like a big time goal scorer at the NHL level, but I think he's got a shot that'll allow him to be like regularly in that 15 to 20 range. I could see it. I also love that his dad is a goalie coach, so apparently Lundell is like constantly asking him for tips on how to beat goalies, which is pretty cool.
That might help his goal scoring.
So now does it get fun, JD?
Oh, now is when the extremely Anakin Skywalker voice, now is when the fun begins. Carolina can do literally anything because they've got depth at every position on their team, which is why I had them going like totally, I don't mean to age myself here, but I had them going Leroy Jenkins and just grabbing Hendrix Lapierre because they could, and especially because it will upset David, who's just going to start yelling French curse words on the stream.
Yeah.
Like David
that might happen.
He will be apoplectic if that happens. Just like I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's way too early for him. Way too early.
Rachel just sent in our chat. Excuse me, since when is winning face-offs a character trait?
That's one of my favorite character traits.
Maybe he's winning big face-offs, like at the end of games, things like that. That needs a lot of character to do that. Or skill. I don't know. I don't know face-off that well.
Face-offs don't matter. Sorry. I hate to be that guy, but they are just so insignificant in like the grand scheme of things.
They matter even less at the junior level.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things too where it's like you would obviously rather your team win face-offs than lose face-offs. I don't think I'm breaking any ground here, but like there has to be a pushback from people when it gets fetishized to the extent that it does on TV. Like I'm so sick of hearing about face-offs on NHL broadcasts. And that's why we have to fight the good fight.
In the CHL, like possession changes hands off the face-off, no matter who wins or loses it, within 3 seconds or 4 seconds on average. So like it's almost entirely irrelevant except for taking the shot from the top of the circle through a pile of players or a point shot.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean if you're good at face-offs at the junior level that you will be good at face-offs at the NHL level.
I have a statistic for you. So back in the day, before face-offs were publicly available in the OHL, but teams were doing it, Montreal Canadiens prospect Michael McCarron was almost 70% in the dot with the Ottawa Bruins. Someone should look it up, but I'm pretty sure he's a touch under 50% or a touch over 50% in his career in the NHL.
He probably just killed the other guy on face-offs and then
yeah, exactly.
You know what I love about that too is just like when Montreal makes a massive, obvious blundering mistake, it's usually because they're trying to appease their fans by taking a player who's clearly not the best option, but is from La Belle Province. They don't like that wasn't even an excuse that would work with Michael McCarron. Like that was just like a complete galaxy brain pick that completely blew up in their face like as soon as it happened.
Yeah. I think they lost in the playoffs to a bigger team the year before. I don't remember who. And then they just decided, that's right. They just decided that they needed size in their team. But Michael McCarron was a long-term project when he was drafted anyway, so he wouldn't have fixed that issue. And it was a long-term project, so he had a lot of holes in his game.
He had a really exceptional start to his AHL career based on like high percentages, but they basically tried to coach him to be the big bruising guy instead of being like a big skill player. He was never skilled enough to be a top 6 or even a top 9 guy, but they kind of changed his development significantly by putting a square peg into a round hole. It just didn't work. They were trying to make him into a player he was never going to be.
So the Carolina Hurricanes, in case you're wondering why I was booing, they did the obvious thing and they drafted Seth Jarvis.
Yeah. Okay.
Which that's what they should have done.
Yeah, I feel for Leafs fans here, unfortunately, because Jarvis was getting painfully close, and he was the obvious 15th overall pick there. But with Jarvis, he's not the biggest player, he's not the fastest player, he's not the most skilled player. But when you put everything that he does together, there are few prospects who can make the impact that he does. It's all about pace. Through the neutral zone, he's always crossing over, trying to get defensemen to bite one way, and then he's going to go the other. He is exceptional well under pressure. There are few players who can create the plays that he can when he's falling with the defender on his back. He's very good at pulling in the extra defender by lulling them to sleep. You know, he'll enter this glide and they'll come over and then he'll instantly cut back and then take the puck to the net. Really terrific player, weaponizes retrievals really well. He's about as complete of an offensive threat as you're going to get at this point in the draft. Hell, he's about as complete as an offensive threat as you're going to get outside the top 5. He's terrific.
This is just a total money pick. Like there's nobody else who would have made sense in this spot. I don't think, based on who was available.
Yeah, I think he would complement their team very well. He plays with energy, with pace, like Mitch said, and he's very elusive along the boards. So he's great at sensing pressure where the defenders are behind him and cutting back at the right time to escape them. And like Mitch said, bring another defender on him and then make him pass inside or come to the slot to release. He always plays from outside in, and that's uncommon for junior players.
He loves to slash to the middle. Like Sportsnet just came up with their first good player comparable on the broadcast because they compared Seth Jarvis to Mitch Marner. That's actually a really good comparison. He loves to work from the outside in off the boards, can play with people pretty much dragged on him. Like Seth Jarvis's ability to play through contact, it almost reminds me a little bit of Alex Kovanov. Do you know what I mean? The well-timed shoulder bumps, the way that he can read off of coverage and kind of position himself in traffic. Like pretty similar in that sense, and that sense alone, because Hovenov can't skate.
Yeah, and you can teach players puck protection, but this ability to feel defenders and know where they are, it takes a high processing speed. So you have to be able to account for multiple variables at the same time. And Jarvis has it, and it's a skill that will translate to the NHL and make him a good forward there. Because yes, he's has a smaller size, but since he's elusive, his path to the NHL is easier than even some bigger forwards who don't have that skill.
What do we think the Oilers are doing here?
Okay, so on the broadcast, they just said Ridley Gregg would be an option here, and man, I would like.
Why?
You thought my reaction to Jack Quinn was a lot? Like, I would stand up so quickly that my earpiece would fall out. It would make a ton of noise. You would be able to hear me from my apartment in Vancouver all the way in. You're in Stockholm right now, right, Christopher?
I'm actually in Linköping right now, but it's quite close to Stockholm.
Okay, well, you'll be able to hear me if they pick Ridley Gregg here. I will just lose it. I will lose it.
Especially since there's a better version of him, or even just a different version of him in Holloway, and there's Mercer, who's a lot more skilled. If you want a safe forward, it's going to play in the NHL for sure. Just pick Holloway or Amirov.
Yeah, I was going to say Amirov would be the play for sure.
Yeah, why not? Just don't go Greg. Don't do that.
Here's the thing, though. The Edmonton Oilers love to take controversial picks in the first round. And, like, you start with Evan Bouchard, who might work out, might be phenomenal. Who knows? He also might be Michael Del Zotto. Then you follow that up. The next year with Philip Broberg. The only thing that makes sense here is that they're going to draft like William Wallinder, Connor Zary, or Ridley.
Oh, I could see that.
I had Connor Zary going to them in my mock draft just because it fit with that profile, right? Like they continually make stand on an island picks. I would love to see that.
This is gonna be fun.
Holloway, maybe.
Yeah, I'm ready. My body is ready for this. Come on, Oilers. The pick is in.
This is a good one. This isn't as bad as you think it's gonna be. This is a good pick here. I think it's David's time to shine.
Who is it?
Okay.
I have no access to stream.
It is Dylan Holloway.
Yay.
That's
so
totally it's a bit rich for my blood, but it's totally reasonable. Totally reasonable.
It's a great fit. So Holloway is two things, I guess. He's a rusher, so he has one of the better rushing games in the draft. So he always attacks the middle and changes direction, changes speed, he manipulates defenders off the rush to enter the zone, and he loves to use the speed of teammates that rush the net to cut to the middle as soon as he crosses the offensive blue line and release from the middle of the slot. So he's really good at that. He can protect the puck very well, and he was a freshman in the NCAA, so he should only improve when he adds strength, when he has a bit more speed. He projects as a above average NHL skater, but I think there's development there that he has to make. And when he adds that speed, that explosiveness, and he works on his feel for puck protection too, it will be a pretty good forward, protecting the puck along the boards and feeding inside. I don't think he has the best vision in the draft or the ability to create inside the offensive zone or feed shooters on his line, but he can play center, he can play wing. He's going to be involved away from the puck defensively too, because it's an ever-growing thing in this game. Right now, he's not the best defensive forward, but everyone on Wisconsin had trouble coordinating on defense. So I think with time, he will improve the defensive side of his game and just be a great support player for one of their top six center. It's just a plug and play forward. So just put him on the line. He will do his thing. He will feed the puck to teammates and carry it up ice, and has some finishing touch too. He can tip pucks. He has great hand-eye coordination, and he can find soft spots in the offensive zone. Okay, so if you have a great playmaker like Draisaitl or Connor McDavid who can manipulate defenders,
Or Yamamoto.
Yeah, they will able to find him in the slot too. So I think it's a pick that makes sense, and it's a safe one that will probably play in the NHL not next year, but the year after. So yeah, it's a good pick from the Oilers.
This is almost kind of disappointing, actually. I was getting so ready for just like the most outlandish pick on the face of the earth, and this has taken the wind right out of my sails.
So like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just devastated. This isn't fair. This isn't right. Like, I want the Edmonton Oilers to do Edmonton Oilers things. This is not an Edmonton Oilers thing.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
What?
Yeah, it's reasonable.
It's reasonable. A compliment of the highest order.
I'd love to see it.
JD.
What's up?
Canucks are making a trade.
No, that was a fake account. That was a fake. Look at the ad.
Oh my
you got got, buddy. You got got.
That sucks.
All right, it's time to delete your account.
Yeah, Joey Pad Monabon is no more.
That's embarrassing. Who is this clown?
You know what? Okay, I'm not going to give you too much of a hard time, Joey, because I saw that on the timeline, and I even made a face. Nobody noticed, but I made a face. But that's for the best, because I
almost said something too.
You almost got too, right?
I was the idiot who actually fell for it.
Inexperience. We'll chalk it up to that.
So at least high upside players.
Yeah.
You know what?
I wonder if we go Jacob Perreault here.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Caden Goodwin.
I mean, I suppose Dawson Mercer is still on the board.
Oh yeah, Dawson Mercer. Okay, yeah, they have to take Dawson Mercer.
I don't want them to take him. I'm right about Dawson Mercer.
Get on pension plan puppets, baby. Then it's all good. Then you can go for it.
Yeah, Jacob Perreault has a lot of room to grow because he's very skilled. But
whoa, David, he plays in the OHL. It's Jacob Perreault.
Jacob Perreault. I think he's in Montreal. No,
Montreal. He was born in Montreal.
So Jacob Perreault has a lot of room to grow. It even rhymes in a way. So in terms of his skating, he has a good knee angle, the knee band, good ankle flexion, and he doesn't punch over too much. He lacks speed right now, but he has the frame to add a lot more speed in future years because of his good base, good skating base right now. And he has a great shot, and he can make quick plays under pressure. He has a few holes in his game. Actually, I shouldn't be the one talking about him. I haven't watched him that much. It's probably best if Mitch completes there.
Who, Dawson Mercer?
No, Jacob Perreault.
Oh, sorry. I zoomed out for a second.
He's a wicked shooter, and his playmaking has really improved in the past 2 seasons. He plays on the only team in the past decade that has scored 250 goals and allowed 300 in the OHL. And they did it twice in both of his years. He's on a run and gun team, and I think that really influences the narrative around his defensive game. I think he's much better than what we've seen. He definitely has had some really good flashes for me. The effort does come and go, but he's going to be fine. I think he's a really high upside bet.
Also, like, nobody played defense on Sarnia. I think you kind of alluded to that, but I'm trying to scan for the Prawn Dog update. But like, that team was just a complete defensive shell, and I'm not sure I would hold that against him.
With the 15th overall selection in this year's 2020 NHL draft, your Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select from UFA of the KHL, Rodion Amirov.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
Okay.
Dawson Mercer, yes. Please, Habs.
So I like to believe that Mitch Marner is taking the duties of making that pick because his father negotiated that into his contract. And we're like 3 years away from Mitch Marner being the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs as well as one of their players. But Rodion Amirov, I like this pick.
Yep.
Wait a second. Has anybody else noticed that all year we basically said Dylan Holloway and Rodion Amirov right next to each other on our draft boards? And every time we talked about them, it was like one was in front of the other. And that's exactly how the draft played out. I find that kind of interesting. Just me? Okay.
I think it's interesting. So Amirov is one of the best, probably a top 5 transitional player in this draft class. He is truly exceptional, especially at gaining the middle of the ice. So deceptive, so quick, so skilled one-on-one and in open space. He never overdoes it. Really good sense of space and awareness. Offensively, he's more of a shooter. The conundrum, however, is that he probably isn't a good enough shooter to justify the volume that he fires at. He lacks a two-touch catch and release type shot in tight. And he does have tunnel vision, especially when coming down the wing. He's always just going to try to beat people with his speed, with the skill, and it prevents him from finding the trailer and making a ton of plays as a playmaker. With that said, it's tough to think of a better fit for Amirov than going to the Leafs, because the pace that he brings, you can throw him in on any of those players on those lines, Marner, Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, and he's gonna mesh well with them. He's gonna create. He can play any role, any situation. You could stick him lower in the lineup, and he's gonna be able to drive a line for you. He's a perfect fit for that team. Really, really impressive player. I think he has some things to work on, but it's not an immediate. He's not going to play in the NHL next season, so he's got plenty of time to figure it out.
He's not far off from the NHL though, because he plays such a mature, like well-rounded game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I could see him there in his draft +2 year.
Yeah, his attention to detail is exceptional. Like it's so advanced. Even in that last season, he started the year in the KHL, and his ability just to like be in the right place at the right time, swoop in with a well-timed stick lift, support the play is just eons ahead of most players in this age group. And on top of that, he has had a very strong start to the season, and I have seen some level of improvement from him as a passer.
We always say this.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it's the Montreal Canadiens, and they have a chance to take Dawson Mercer, and that would make David a very happy boy. So I'm hoping for it. I think they're going to take Caden Gooley here.
Yeah, it's between Caden Gooley and Mercer for them, as far as I know.
Hello. I just crashed. What happened?
We were just talking about how happy you would be if the Canadiens drafted Dawson Mercer. Yeah. Wait a second. Okay, David, that is a complete Anglo name. I'm not going to do any more French pronunciations because I got poutine and prostitutes hooked up when we started, I think. What was I saying earlier, David?
Yeah, I'm not saying it.
Okay, then yeah, okay, my guess was right. So I'm not going to do that again, but I don't know. I think Dawson Mercer would be fine here. I've known that Ridley Gregg is going in the first round for like a month.
Oh boy,
every team I talk to has been saying this for a month. And still, every time I hear it on the broadcast, I have to like cackle just the tiniest bit. Like, even if I'm not showing it personally, like internally, I'm giggling just a tiny bit. It's just the most bizarre development of this draft. But then again, somebody on my timeline just said that it's almost Lucas Reichel time, so it could get stranger.
It could happen.
Christopher would be on board with that.
Oh my God.
No. That's way too early.
Pearl, maybe.
Okay, if Jacob Perreault goes to the Montreal Canadiens, then from that point forward, he is Jacob Perreault. Caden Gooley. Nailed it.
Let's go, Mitch.
Yeah. Got all the insider information here. All of it.
Yeah.
Saying it for a long time now. Okay, so Bergevin was like, oh, you know, hopefully we can get the guy that we were planning on taking at 9. We can get him at 16. Gooley's the only one who really fits that.
Yeah, that's him.
Also, be on the lookout for my Caden Gooley running into people at high speed. I'm not normally one to like rave about, you know, what blue lines could be, but the Montreal Canadiens blue line at some point is going to be relatively terrifying. I don't know about how talented it will be, but certainly from a physicality standpoint, if you get through Jaden Struble, you're going to get rocked by Caden Gooley, and then if you get by Caden Gooley, you're going to get absolutely killed and sent into the 4th row of the stands by Alexander Romanov. So that is kind
I
of
forgot about Romanov for a second. Here. This is hilarious. I didn't even think about the fact that they were building a hit squad in Montreal. Like that didn't even occur to me. And then, like, I don't know, their players are just they play with such wanton, like, reckless abandon, all the players that they've drafted. Like, think about Josh Brook. Not physically, but he plays with a lot of reckless abandon as, like, a puck carrier, right? Think about Jaden Struble. He's still learning all the details of the game. Like, it's so strange to look at what the Montreal Canadiens do at the pro level with things like trading for Joel Edmondson's rights. That is low key one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Somebody trading for Joel Edmondson's rights to sign him. And then you look at what they do in the draft, and it all makes sense. It all makes sense when it comes to defensemen.
They really have a model for the defensemen. They want them big, want them to move well, be physical, and be shut down defensemen. So I think even in their drafting, this is reflected by picks like Jacob Lemeguerrier, and is that his first name? I think it is. And other ones like that. So Gooley really fits the model here. He's super mobile. He's a shutdown defender. He can move the puck up ice, but really his calling card is defense. So he's physical, he's big, he hits, and he closes on guys very quickly. He's a good fit, I think, in this spot. Of course, I would prefer Dawson Mercer. It's more interesting to write about. But Gooley will be effective for a long while in the NHL, probably on a second pairing.
I'm sure you'll have plenty. Just make a weekly reel of Caden Gooley smoking people.
Yeah, I could do that.
As a former Eyes on the Prize contributor, reels of people just running into dudes is always as well. People love that stuff.
I really love watching Caden Gooley play hockey. Like I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, as long as you forget about the fact that he's like knocking years off of people's life expectancy. Once you think about that, it becomes a little bit more grim. It's like, oh, that person's going to be in a chair like 3 years earlier than they should. But other than that, really cool. What do we think the Blackhawks are going to do? Because I look at a team that has made some interesting decisions at the draft table in recent years. Thinking about you, Alex Vlasic. I picked them for Ridley Gregg.
Really? Or Dawson Mercer?
Or Dawson Mercer. I didn't think that. Well, I actually, this is how tired I was. I forgot to put Dawson Mercer in my mock draft. Somebody pointed it out on Twitter, and I was like, we're going to take the person responsible for that, me, behind the woodshed, and have them summarily executed. So
I think it's a great pick for them. They need a bit of everything. They have defensive depth, maybe not blue chip prospect on defense, but Dawson Mercer fits because he has skill and he can play with Patrick Kane and everyone else on the lineup. Like I said, he's super good at his backhand. He can manipulate defenders. He can score with either side of the blade. And he has defensive value. He played on PK this season, and he's pretty good at anticipating passing the lane, getting stick in there. So you could play a good
really high motor.
Yeah. He needs to improve his skating. He's another player where his skates recover wide, so he doesn't generate as much speed as he could, but that's fixable.
JD, just to be kind of an agent of chaos here, what about are we getting into especially with Chicago, the range of their backyard guy, Brendan Brisson?
Oh man, I would be on board with that pick. Imagine a top 6 of Kirby Dach and Brendan Brisson, like 5 years from now.
Lucas Reichel. Wow.
Wait, what? Chicago took Lucas Reichel?
Is it Reichel? They took that guy.
What? They took Lucas Reichel? Oh my. It's way too early for Lucas Reichel.
Someone was going to do it.
How do you take Lucas Reichel ahead of Dawson Mercer?
Someone was going to do it. So we've heard so much about Lucas Reichel over the summer. Like it was like if it wasn't Chicago, it was going to be someone else in this top 20 who was going to take it. Teams love players who have the raw, moldable skill set that Reichel has. I mean, sure, it's very questionable how high he's going to impact the game, but he works hard. His decision making is questionable. He's got some flashy skill to him. He has all the things that teams really value in this spot. If you want a player who you can shape to become the type of player you desire to have on your third line, there might not be a better fit than Lucas Reichel. I know, glowing review.
Yeah.
Well, most importantly, we got the Reichel over Peterka pick.
All right. Someone deactivate this dude. It's too late anyway. I don't even know if he's awake. He's delirious.
Yeah, extreme the night here.
Christopher is just like doing cartwheels right now. This is like a dream scenario for him. He feels so vindicated.
Yeah, well, there was another guy that wouldn't have surprised me, like the Hawks taking, just because, like, playing youth hockey in Chicago, he's a guy who was always the kid coming out of Chicago. He played with their mission program before he went to Sarnia. So, like, and that youth program's like kind of tied in with the Hawks. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with like they do love their homegrown guys. So
they passed up Turcotte last year too.
They did pass up Turcotte. But like you look at, Schmaltz is their guy. Hinostroza was their guy.
Right. That's fair. Did you know that Hinostroza, apparently, like he's from Ecuador? I think Catherine actually wrote a story about this. I think either his bloodline is like Ecuadorian or anyway, like there's a big story about how many hockey rinks they have there and how his family played there. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is cool.
Yeah. I can't believe the Blackhawks took Lucas Reichel. Whoa, hold up. On the broadcast, the comparable they have for Lucas Reichel, did you just see that, Mitch? It's Mike Hoffman?
Why?
This dude can't properly transfer his weight into his shot, and they're comparing him to Mike Hoffman.
He's like the best long-range finishing forward in the NHL. Like, for all of his warts, Mike Hoffman is one of the few shooters in the NHL who can score outside of the house area consistently. That player comparable is so hilariously bad, I have a hard time processing it. Like, one of the selling points of Lucas Reichel is that he gets to the net. One of the selling points about Lucas Reichel is that a lot of his shots come from high danger areas. How do you square that with a Mike Hoffman comparison? That is just like so outlandish. That is even more confounding than the pick itself.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. If he learns how to put downward force into a shot, suddenly develops desire to shoot from far away, changes the way that he shoots the puck entirely and positions himself to shoot the puck, then yeah, he might be a discount version of Mike Hoffman who takes a bajillion shots from long range and scores 10 goals. maybe.
Yeah.
He's
if
not.
he becomes a different player, he will be.
If you take away everything that Lucas Reichel has good, that's crazy. Also, excuse my lack of attention, but NBA Finals starting, so I got to switch channels here. Sorry, guys.
We'll pipe in the picks as they come. Holy crap, man! Lucas Reichel. Okay,
even watching that highlight package, that shot is, like you said, Mitch, that's whack. You like, yeah. Oh my god, that's I've never seen this kid play, but that shot's weird as hell.
He doesn't
even use it that often. Like
for our listeners, what he does is he really has a preference for shooting on his inside foot, which isn't like a huge deal, but he also is comfortable shooting on his outside foot, which that's probably preferable, but he can't transfer his weight downwards when he's leaning over his outside foot to shoot the puck, which has this really interesting conundrum where he kind of like twists his body and then turns and kind of flings the puck towards goal. It's just super ineffective. Rodion Amirov does something similar, although he's much better at it because he opens his hips up when he does it, so then he's square to the net. It's like a junior hockey level shot, like a ball hockey type shot, where you push off your back foot and then use that momentum to swing your arms through it rather than pushing the weight down. But at least Amirov can put some power onto it.
Okay,
when I watched him.
Sorry, you go ahead, Daniel. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just a quick thing. When I watched him, he had some timing issues too, like when he would enter the slot and when he wouldn't. Like, just a small ad. I haven't seen him a whole lot though.
Yeah, fully on board with that. I don't see a guy who's going to be a big goal scorer at any level. I think the 90th percentile outcome, like literally the best situation for him, is that he's able to hit 50 to 20 goals, and maybe he's able to get 20-ish assists in sort of like this premium, like 8th or 7th best forward on a team. Like that's one of the highest outcomes I can see from him. I just don't see it. I'll gladly eat my words if I'm wrong. I'm going to take a ton of L's this year anyway, so why not add another one?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what we do in this industry. Is we're wrong so often. Wow, I'm just still Christopher, as the resident Lucas Reichel stan. I'm sure even like you would agree this is a bit rich for Lucas Reichel.
Yeah, I think it's way too early. Like, I have him over Peterka, but yeah, I don't see it in the first round. I think it's just too early when there's so much talent or players with more upside on the board still. But yeah,
like Dawson Mercer, who's just been selected by the Devils, their second pick. I'm just gonna repeat my same thing I said 5 times before because I thought it was getting picked before. Man plays defender. He's one of the best stick handler in the draft, maybe the best one. He can score, can make plays to teammates too. So he's a triple threat forward, another one. And he has defensive value due to his ability to read plays and cut them down, place his stick at the right time in passing lane, just anticipated. I think it's a great pick for the Devils.
Yeah, this is a pretty larcenous pick in my opinion. Like, he's so deceptive as a handler, and it transfers to every element of his game. He's always looking off his desired move, and then defensemen bite inevitably, and then he absolutely burns them because he's so skilled, he's so talented. He has the killer instinct offensively, and he can pick corners from range.
I can't believe this pick. Like I mean, for one, it's obviously a phenomenal draft pick. I mean, this is almost like 10 spots after we had Dawson Mercer slotted on our board. But I just, man, New Jersey is killing it. New Jersey is killing it. And they've still got another first round pick on the way that they're probably going to use on Tyler Clevin. Hey, wait a second. Guys, we just showed up on the broadcast. That's super cool. That's another we haven't quite made it yet because I was so excited to see that. They had our quote on Dawson Mercer.
Oh, I see it now. That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I just tweeted out some good Dawson Mercer stuff. The internet needs more Dawson Mercer stuff. So his first 2 games back have been absolutely phenomenal in the queue. Just like really impressive stuff. He's doing all the same things. His off puck offense has improved again. Like he's really becoming the full package here. I can't believe this. This is just larcenous. Like, how does this happen?
It's pretty bizarre. That's all I can think to say here. Like I just how does this happen? How do other teams let this happen? Holy crap! Can you imagine if Dawson Mercer sticks at center? Can you imagine that? A top 3 centers of Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Dawson Mercer.
Can you imagine the shutdown potential with Dawson Mercer on the wing of Nico Hischier?
Oh, that line would have like 65% shot attempts at 5-on-5.
Like,
and 70% of the goals somehow. That would be unreal.
Flames.
The Flames are taking Schneider 100%.
Yeah.
I will be very surprised if anyone else gets called. David, if you send out your Mercer article, I'll give that some love. I
think I wrote that article. The Mercer
Did you?
one?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Whichever one of you did. It was a really good article. Oh, okay, cool.
We're indistinguishable. We influence each other so much when our editor-in-chief can't figure out who wrote the article.
Okay, to be fair, Mitch, I'm a very exhausted boy here. I'm just doing the best I can.
Aren't we all?
This is just phenomenal. I think like you could not pick a better scenario for New Jersey.
Oh, Calgary is trading down to the New York Rangers 22nd pick in 72. Rangers are on the clock now.
I bet you it's for Hendrix Lapierre. Because they have such a glaring need at center. If the Rangers traded up, it has to be for Lapierre. Or they're going to upset us and take Connor Zary here.
I'm cool with, what? I'm not the biggest Connor Zary guy. I have him 5th, I think, among my WHL players, or 4th. But he's a perfectly fine pick here. He fits, too, with what the Rangers want to do.
But have you spoken to many teams who see Zary as a center, though? Because I haven't.
No one. I haven't talked to a single person who thinks he's a center. There are teams who really believe that he has more goal-scoring potential that we haven't seen yet, and there are teams that really think he's going to turn it on as a playmaker. But there's no one who's like, oh yeah, this kid who has a very wonky stride, who can't do crossovers properly, is going to play center. Haven't heard that at all. And I don't think the expectation would be for him to play center either. Like, I don't think a team is going to pick him, even if they go high on him here. It's going to be like, we're picking this kid to play at C.
So that would kind of take him out of the consideration then, no? Because, I mean, like, the Rangers have to get a center here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Is there anybody outside of, okay, like, as the resident Brendan Brisson stan, like, that would be cool. Lapierre would be cool. Who else?
Bork.
I think that's... Bork. Bork, there's the obvious one.
Like, Bork's the best player remaining, in my opinion, but he's still going to go for a bit, I think.
Yeah, I honestly, it's so weird, man. The NHL just has no time for Bork, and it's so fucking strange.
His first 2 games back, he's been like bullying people out there, and his stride looks so much better. The improvement continues. He's going to be awesome, and teams are going to regret it. That's just
100%. 100%.
It's the same thing with Brisson too. Brisson now is in stupidly low territory.
Man, I couldn't believe it. Like I heard about one team. Funny story. I heard about one team who their scout was only at like a handful of the World Junior A Classic games or World Junior A Challenge, where he almost set a scoring record, and they were like, "Do not draft." And apparently they had they had to have him watch film all summer because they were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And
just like Shakir Mukammadulin was actually good at the World Junior A Challenge.
yeah, that was the worst hockey I think I've ever seen live in my life. But oh, you know what? Speaking of worst hockey I've seen in my life, Kirill Steklov. He's not going to go for like at least another round or two. Okay, so you've heard from teams too. Like the Steklov thing is happening, right?
Oh yeah. It's a thing.
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who's heard this. Kirill Steklov is totally going to go in rounds 2 or 3, and I'm going to be mystified. Although, if you watch London's tape near the end of the year, he actually did look a lot better, I thought.
I was going to say the best games I ever saw him play were in late September, early October. Like that was when he stood out to me as being the best he was, especially offensively. He was getting really involved, and then he just kind of got reckless, and then it's just dissipated entirely. But I will concede he did look a lot steadier through February.
Yeah, I think the February tape is the one I was thinking of. Well, it wouldn't have been much in March.
No. He's an interesting prospect.
Man, I think it is going to be Lapierre, though, going back away from my Steklov tangent. Because I think, like, when I talk to teams, I think Bresson's going to slide into 25-30, based on what I'm hearing. Like, maybe can move up to, like, 23. Maverick Bork, I think, is going to slide all the way to the second round, and everybody who let it happen is going to rue that decision for the rest of their lives.
Pretty much from 16 on is going to be like, ugh.
Yeah, we goofed it. But I think the only pick here that can make any sense for me is Lapierre. Sorry, the only pick that makes sense based on the intel that I have is Lapierre. That's what I meant to say.
Sure. I mean, is there a team that is more well equipped to take him, like other than Los Angeles, just by virtue of having so many talented young players? Like you can afford to take this high upside swing, and if he busts, he busts. You're not going to worry about it because it's it's 19th overall. It's just another first round pick to your insane war chest of upside.
Yeah. What? What?
All right.
Are you kidding me? No way.
Why did they trade up for him?
Why would they trade up for Braden Schneider?
I guess they were sure that another team wanted him. It's not a bad pick around here. It's just there were more upside to be had.
Why would they trade up for another defensive prospect? Like,
it's not like you're trading up for like Helio Grans or something. You're trading up for a number 5. Like he's going to play, and he's going to play those minutes well. He's just probably a number 5. That's all.
Yeah, well, or like maybe a number 4, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Like I think that's like the 75th percentile outcome. Like that's a really good one. But he does bring a lot of things. He's just kind of like the more problem-solving oriented Caden Gooley. Like he plays a little bit more passively. He funnels the play very slowly and then annihilates them along the boards. He's a well-rounded transition player, except for the issue that he never dumps the puck out. Positive. The negative is that he has major pass completion issues by virtue of just throwing the puck in the middle and not having any ability to read and identify the play. Offensively, he can do some creative things. He's a big mobile dude who likes to work laterally. The issue is that he doesn't really create a ton of offense getting off the point. And as a third-year player, I know the Brandon Wheat Kings were low that. I know they didn't score a ton of goals. But he needed to generate more offense by himself. And he didn't. At this stage in his development, he should be far more impactful offensively than he is. And Simply put, there aren't a ton of players with his statistical profile who turn out to be long-term NHL players. I think watching him suggests that he will be, but I think there's merit to the idea that he's not going to be a top 4 guy, or at least a high impact defender.
Yeah, no, you said it. Like, this is so strange. I would have had even time.
Jacob Trouba. Jacob Trouba.
No, that is the Jake Sanderson comparable. They got it wrong. Start from scratch. You know what's funny is as they were saying Brandon Wheat Kings, I was like, is it Ridley Gregg's music? Is this his walk-up music? I was ready for it. Like my body was prepared.
Who's next on the board?
Well, we got a fun one now. I'm really excited for this pick. This is the one I've been looking forward to the most, just because the possibilities are endless with what New Jersey can do, especially now that they've gotten Alexander Holtz and Dawson Mercer with the 7th and 18th overall picks.
Yeah.
Maybe they continue their high value plays, or they just go like, you know what? We've already got our high upside guys. No sense in taking it. We're taking Ridley Gregg here, or we're taking Jake Neighbors.
Oh, okay. I got one for you. So my intel was even as recently as like last week, one of these teams with 3 firsts is going to take Clevin. But I'm, oh man, if that happens, I might actually.
No way.
That's,
oh my goodness.
I've heard this a lot. But
this has been going back months.
That would almost undo everything they've done up until this point for me.
Yeah. That would be like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
You know who I think would be awesome here? Noel Gunler.
Yes.
I would be into that.
I can't wait to see him just ripping it up, playing on Binghamton's second line, scoring a bunch of goals at age 24. No, I'm just playing. He's going to play. He's going to be fun.
Or he's not. Or he's not going to play at all.
Him and Mikey McLeod are just going to kill it on the second line in the AHL.
They're going to be the best shutdown line in all the AHL.
Oh, this is the Blake Coleman, JT Miller pick.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Huh.
I don't want to sewer other people. Actually, I do. But like Sportsnet has the best available on the broadcast, and it's just like, who came up with this list? Ridley Gregg is like 3 rounds away from being the best available. This is not acceptable. How is Jake Neighbors in this spot? Preposterous.
Honestly, I just want someone to take Perot, and I want people to be like on Twitter, oh, well, he's not good defensively. Someone needs to take Perot. I need to subtweet a bunch of people who think he's bad defensively. This is what I live for.
Oh, man. Could you imagine? Okay. They're talking about this on the broadcast. Henrik Slapierre to the New Jersey Devils, because why not? Why not have like 5 elite centers? I mean, Henrik Slapierre is only going to be healthy for like 3 games a year anyway.
He's got the Bobby Brink thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see him and Mercer like play in the NHL together, because they're dynamite together. Like these 2 games in when they've both been healthy playing in Chicoutimi have been awesome. They're just feeding off each other so well. This is the best Lapierre has looked as like a finisher. He's getting into areas, getting open off puck, and waiting for the return feed from Dawson Mercer. That would be an awesome pick. I would love to see it.
It makes sense in this range too, because they have a bunch of first-round pick. You can afford to take him.
For sure. I wouldn't recommend taking Lapierre here. Like that's just like I just don't see the value there. But if you're the Devils, why not? He's a good player to swing on in this thing. Oh, I'm so excited. This is the most excited I've been.
No!
What?
No! Let's go!
I'm behind.
Let's fucking go! Oh my god. This is the worst pick. This is the worst pick.
Who is it?
bad.
Here,
I'm so behind.
Mukamadulin.
What?
Yeah, what?
What?
check the slab count.
Why? Like I like that guy more than you guys, but it's about 6 rounds too early.
That's the type of quality reviews you get from EP Rinkside by our draft guide.
So I guess his upside is that it can turn into a decent puck mover. I like how he tracked for checkers and made passes up ice, but all of his tools have issues, and his defensive game is super far from being NHL ready. It's just a big development project, and I'm not sure the Devils are the right team for him.
To his credit, have you seen how good he?
You froze there, Mitch. Or did I freeze?
Zoom didn't want to hear him say something good.
They said no.
Mitch is frozen. He's just so like.
He was about to say something positive about Striker, and then it just got.
That was me, actually. I cut him off. Oh my god, I've got to do radio. You guys, you got this. I got to do a radio hit for 5 minutes. This is so perfect. I love this. I love the draft.
Who's next on the board?
Columbus. 21. As someone who hasn't seen him play, can someone explain to me why Shakir is so bad?
I think David really likes him.
Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull back my notes because it's been a while since I last watched him. He's a slow-paced defender, and some like his skating more than me, but I think he has a limitation in mechanics there. He lacks agility. He can get up to speed quite quickly, and he can rush the puck up ice, but he can't make lateral moves to evade anyone. And he shoots mostly with his upper body, so he has.
Okay.
According to shooting mechanics, he only turns to shoot. He doesn't involve his lower body. It's the same problem that limits his agility. And his whole defensive game, there's so much work in his ability to gap, ability to recognize risk, to recover from mistakes. He's sometimes just disengaged from the play. His backward skating, there's some trouble there, and it limits his ability to match up with attackers off the rush. And there's just a lot of work there. And it's fine if you draft him a bit later and you have an organization like the Leafs who's actually good at fixing skating mistakes and just putting players on the right track, but it's not the case with the Devils. I don't think so, at least. So yeah, it's just a huge reach for me. And I just don't understand what they see in the first round. There's so many better defender ahead of him.
Gotcha. So, who's the next best available at this point?
Brendan Brisson, probably. Maverick Bourque.
Yeah.
Bourque is still there. Who did you say, Daniel?
Oh yeah, according to our list, right?
Oh yeah. Nah, Perot's still there, right?
Yeah.
Like Mitch said, you might not like him to perceive inability to play defense, but there's so much potential in Peo. Just his skating, I'm sure, will improve massively in the next few years.
Yeah,
and he might not drive a line, but he can finish plays and should be pretty good along the boards at some points. And there's always Maverick Bourque that you should be drafting right around here. He's just constantly improving, like Mitch said. He's both a playmaker and a shooter. He has one of the best shots in the draft. And he just makes the best play almost every time. Like some of the players rank way higher than him.
What about JJP?
I think he could go around here. He had a good performance at the World Junior Tournament, and teams tend to value that at least a bit. And once again, he's another support player, so he won't drive the play, but he's pretty good at finding open eyes to shoot. And he pressures very hard away from the puck. So he's good on the forecheck. He's good at angling, angling attackers away from the puck in the neutral zone. So I think there's value in drafting a TJP right here. I would wait a bit. I think there are players who are smarter and have better tools ahead of him. And there's Helge Grants that we're forgetting, but should be a great pick around here. If you want a real puck mover, he's your guy. I know Chris likes him.
I think we should be close to getting another Swede pretty soon. Either if it's Helge Grants or William Linder. Maybe Noah Gunler as well. I think we're starting to.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Oh, he's just.
Oh, wow. Okay,
wow.
so that guy is a shot and not much else. If you really like shots, it's your guy. But this is way. I don't even understand this pick. Did you just watch his first 5 KHL games of this season and decide to pick him?
This guy's a re-entry. He's a February 01. He's a re-entry who has a ton of flaws in his game, and he's going 21st overall. Are you kidding me?
Here's my list of flaws for him. So I watched quite a bit. His problem is like many other MHLers, he has a slow pace play, so very low motor. He gets puck absorbed very often, both offensively and defensively, so he doesn't adjust his positioning that well. He overhandles against defender. He could pass quicker to teammates. He's very static, which is the same thing as pace of play. And he can blend into the background for long stretches in games. But when he's at the top of his game, he can anticipate and read opposing breakouts quite well, and put his stick in the right lane to intercept passes. I've seen him manipulate defenders too by changing lanes or bringing the puck in their range and just pulling it away. He has decent hands, and he can shoot the puck. He can really shoot the puck, pick corners, and can use screens. So that's really his main attribute. I don't understand what they see in him, but yeah, it's a surprise pick for sure.
The 3 teams who have him on their board at all are going to be pissed that they can't snag him in the 7th round now. Like, this is crazy. Wow.
Blue Jackets have a story of picking some unknown players. Well, he's not really an unknown player. It's just that it doesn't make sense. We don't even have him on the board. Same for Mukamadulin. But I'm going to say this. I was in my first couple of viewings of Chanakov, I was very impressed with his game. It's just that by watching him further, there's so many flaws that he has to overcome. And he's already a re-entry playing in the MHL, so he was older than most of his opponents. And he had a huge jump in production. There's so many red flags. I don't get it. But hey, maybe he had another huge jump in his game, and now he's an amazing player. Worthy of a first round pick.
I just don't know how you can go from, like, you see this kid in the MHL, then you see him in the MHL last year, and now suddenly you decide he's a first round pick when he's not worth a 7th. Like, I understand that sometimes players take huge unexpected leaps, but generally those are reserved for players like Tanner Pearson, who, for example, didn't have the same opportunity afforded to him. Whereas Chynakov is just never, like, he was all right as a draft year player. He was all right last season. I mean, he should have been. He was an 18-year-old with one of the best tools in the MHL. It's a low-pace league. He should have been a killer. And now he's afforded big opportunity in the KHL, and he's taking advantage of it. But what do we expect here? Like, at some point, the draft is about adding value. And was there concern that another team is going to take him in the first? I really have my doubts. I would like to do more digging into this and talk to people about it, but there was really nothing about him. This is shocking to me.
Yeah, that was to me too.
Hendricks Lapierre sitting there.
Yeah, especially since there's so many players just sitting there that there are much safer picks. And then, yeah, like if you take Bork, why would you pick Chanakov or Bork? They have the same issues in that they don't skate super well and they don't have a lot of pace to their game. But Bork is a better shooter. He's smarter. He plays defense better. He has a playmaking side to his game. He's just a skill in terms of hands. Like, why? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing for Shakir. There's so many better defensemen who do everything better than him in all categories left on the board. You should just take a swing at Jamie Pauly.
For sure, yeah. I wonder if like the Mukhamadoul and Chinakov thing are both just like overcorrections from having the extra time. Like, I know that the QGIF started, but we've been watching tape of the Russian players since August. Like, it's the preseason started early, the season starts early compared. And so I wonder if these teams are just like watching these kids and then making these massive adjustments based off of a summer, an interrupted summer, mind you, of physical and mental growth.
Yeah, you had all the preseason, which is a huge chunk of games, and then I don't know how many games there are now, but it's a significant amount of games for sure.
But the teams always say that they never do that, but I guess it's the only answer. The KHL started, they saw those guys and picked them.
I mean, if you watch some of these preseason games with Mukhamadoul, you can be convinced that he's a top 62 prospect in the draft. But then you watch him in the KHL, when the pace is ramped up, you start seeing the same flaws that we've been talking about for a year. And I don't know what either of these teams are thinking. I just don't see it. And I think even if both of these players play and they turn out to be decent NHLers, it's not the point of the draft. You're missing opportunities to add higher value.
Calgary trading again with Washington, 24 and 80.
They should be trading because everyone is picking random guys. So why not go at the end of the third round and just accumulate like 1,000 picks? It won't matter. What is the trade exactly?
It's with Washington. They're trading 22 for 24 and 80.
All right, that's not too bad. I like what Calgary's doing here. You're avoiding the temptation to pick Yegor Chinakov. Is that tempting?
There's Alexander Pashin next.
Dmitriev Chinakov. Oh, better.
Yeah, why not?
Of Chinakov.
Alexander Gordon. That would actually make sense. I would pick him ahead of Chinakov.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, for sure. There are a ton of MHLers that I would have picked over Chinakov.
I just don't get it.
Who knows? Maybe we're all idiots and Chinakov is the next Ovechkin, and they got him at 21st.
Maybe we'll be very surprised, but I watched a ton of games of him, and I don't see it. Don't see it at all.
Yeah, very Seahawks move by the Flames.
To Chinakov's credit, his skating has improved since his draft year. I will concede that he still has ways to go, don't get me wrong. But there is, like, this isn't just picking a guy who got better numbers by virtue of being older. He has made significant, tangible improvements year to year. But that doesn't move you from not being picked at all to being the 21st overall pick when you have an exceptional level of talent available relative to normal draft years. Anyway, I can't wait for him to win a Calder. How about you guys?
I was just going to say, that's going to be like, somebody's going to make like a pump-up video for him, and that's going to be the soundbite in the background. It's just us trashing on him. And I'll put up 100 points.
I would love that.
All the players we hate are going to have individual accolades. Everyone we know drafted is going to be better than the guys we had on our board. Carson Dantle is going to be the next super powerful, the next Josh Anderson. He'd choose yogurt though, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
I saw that in your log. That was funny.
Yeah. I try to have some fun game reports in there sometimes. I filed one for David Ferentz. This is just like the dog in the chemistry lab being like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah, Madison games are kind of hard to watch because you're trying to. There's so many players. At some point.
You know what? Looking back on this, I really appreciate now the Canadians taking Gouli and Amarov going to the Leafs. Like, these were not the two players who I thought were the best player available. They're reasonable, but these last couple of picks have been like so unreasonable that it has shifted, I suppose, the Overton window of prospect acceptability.
I can just imagine Lapierre sitting at home and watching.
They showed him. Yeah, they showed him. They showed him maybe 2 picks ago, and it was sad. Like,
yeah, I guess he must be thinking, "Oh, those Russian kids are very good this year." It doesn't make sense.
All right, any guesses on what Washington is going to do here?
No idea.
Any guesses? Is that a thing that we can do?
Oh, I forgot about Murat. So he wasn't even the first NHL guy off the board.
That's rough.
Oh, yeah, Muka Madula went over Murat Kushnadinov. Oh, that is... Oh, all right, I'm going to continue my Murat Kushnadinov at defense thing. He's a better defenseman than Shakir Mukhamadullin. That is my hot take for the night. I will be retiring now.
Blake Coleman and Foot, or Coleman for Foot and Shakir. Is that trade?
I wonder why teams didn't just trade down if they weren't going to select those guys. Like, just accumulate a ton of picks. He's next on your list. Just add like 50 third rounders. Just, I don't know. It's not possible.
What is Columbus going to do? Trade down to like 208th overall?
They just have all of the 7th rounders.
Yeah.
They just empty the NHL of all their prospects.
China.
Washington's going to take Lapierre.
Good, finally. Well, I mean, I think
nice.
I think there were better players left on the board, but at least this pick makes a lot of sense. He has a ton of upside. Yeah, go ahead.
Sportsnet has been guilt tripping us by showing us Lapierre, though, so he needs to go. My heart needs to be healed. And now fire away, dude.
Happy moment now.
Yeah, so even if we toss aside the injuries concern, there's a ton of holes in Lapierre's game, but he has upside as a playmaker. He's one of the better rushers in the draft. He can manipulate defenders off the rush by changing speed, changing lanes, moving their feet out of the way, and it's just cutting into open space. And he has great vision in the offensive zone. He just needs to stop making hope plays. So yeah, it really has to be sure that there's a teammate sitting on the other hand of his passes all the time. Sometimes he just fails to look. Other times he can make insane plays through layers. So he's very inconsistent on that. And he needs to shoot more. But like Mitch said, with his pairing with Dawson Mercer, he started to do that. So Dawson Mercer can take the puck and he can cycle the offensive zone. And Lapierre has to find soft spots in coverage. So I think just by a product of them being placed together, it's probably something he improves this year.
Yeah, I think as a playmaker, he doesn't have all the high-end traits that you're looking for. For example, he tends to drop his head and turn his body on the backhand, which prevents him from spotting targets on the inside. It leads to the hope plays, right? But I think there's legitimate upside to be had here, especially because the early returns have been really good. We see him healthy now. He's got 5 points, which is completely irrelevant to how good he's been. I think what's most telling is his 0.8 individual expected goals and 2.5 individual expected primary assists per 60, both of which are very impressive, especially the primary assist one. He's attacking the middle a lot more. He's taking advantage of space, but previously we didn't see a player who was taking advantage of that space. The next step for him is finding ways to create inside opportunities.
Yeah, and hopefully we see this kind of evolution in this game this year. he's probably capable of it because he has the skill. He's one of the better stick counter too in the draft. Maybe he doesn't always set up his feints well, but his hands are lightning quick, and he can just make defenders really look foolish. He also started playing defense a bit more in those first few games in the queue.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty big leap. I mean, he's not the most intelligent player, but you're seeing a lot of extra effort from him on plays where he would give up. He's taking to beat a dead trope. He's taking the extra stride to make the play, and it's a big improvement.
We got mentioned again. Well, not mentioned, but we got our quote up there too on the broadcast.
What do you mean?
It showed a quote about the Ivan Halinka from Elite Prospects.
Hendrix Lapierre looks like Kirby Doc.
Yeah, he does a bit. Hopefully we see Madlik Bork.
And there's still
soon.
Brisson, and
I think it's really wide open around here. At the end of the
All right,
first
what
round.
did I miss? So Yegor Chinikov.
21st. That's what you missed.
Holy shit, what a pick.
We praise him nonstop.
You know what? Like, I appreciate that. That's when the homies are looking out for you. That is Jarmo Kekalainen doing the homie a solid. He saw Mukhamadullin go at 20, and he was like, how am I going to take the heat off of my boy? And he took the heat off of his boy with Yegor Chinikov. Oh, man.
Do we have any positive thoughts on that pick?
He's got a cool name.
I mentioned when it happened that the 3 teams who had them on their draft board are now pissed they won't be able to get him in the 7th round. Like, there's just, what is the point? Anyway, he's going to win the Calder, so let's get over it and move on.
Rachel just texted me. She's like, it's a good thing I wasn't on the Zoom because I would be screaming. And it's like, Rachel, what do you think I was doing? I jumped out of my seat. My headphones disconnected. I was yelling. And you know what? It was a terrible decision because now my voice is like on its last legs. But it was worth it. And I hope that Julie can go in and capture that reaction. Because that's amazing. That Mukhamadullin pick. And I think it needs all of our reactions like forever captured.
I was confused.
Is this the Ridley Gregg time? Obviously, there's the father connection here. His father is a scout for the Philadelphia Flyers. But is this the time? Is this Ridley Gregg's time to shine? Someone has to do it. Or is it Tyler Clevens? Who do we think?
I think it's going to be Greg. Oh man.
Is Tyler Clevin really going to have a time to shine today? I hope not.
I mean, they can't do any worse than Jay O'Brien with the 1st round pick. That was.
I do remember.
Yeah, that was out there.
Yeah, if Tyson Forster, okay. That's a little bit rich for my blood, but okay.
He shoot.
Yeah, he shoot good.
Even better than Chinikov.
Yeah.
So why select him? Anyway.
So what are we pro this Tyson Forster pick? I think
I don't hate it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's the best pick here, personally, but you're drafting him because he can hit the hell out of the puck and also make some plays as a passer, particularly by playing off the threat of a shot. His skating needs a ton of work, but it's improved a lot from his rookie season to now. He's
still
not
terrible.
going to be. It's still terrible. He's not going to be a transition impact player at all. He questionable defensive ability because of his feet, because of how limiting his feet are. I think you're looking at a guy who's going to shoot and make the odd offensive play as a playmaker. He's not like the issue when you're looking at these like sort of single tool players is that you're often looking for some sort of like really like dominant trait that's far, far beyond everyone else's level. And while Forrester is an excellent shooter, I don't think a one-timer from the top of the circle is more valuable than what Bork does, around the slot as the two-touch finisher, or what Brisson can do as the wrister and one-timer deeper in the offensive zone and the bigger wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with this pick is it's so unexciting. It's like he shoots the puck well and he can't skate, and there you go. There's Tyson Forrester.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you say?
You want more. You just want more when you're picking in that spot with those players available, right? And
100%.
I think he's a decent bet to play in the NHL, but again, the skating can be so limiting. If you're going to be this level of skater, you have to be able to move the puck better than he does. You have to be a better playmaker in transition. You have to use your teammates better. You have to have more mental pace as a passer. His passing is all about coming across the zone in a glide and then hitting Evan Vierling streaking down the middle. You need to have more versatility than that.
Do you think he has a path to improve his skating?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We've already seen like the proof of concept for improvement is there. Just look at the difference from his rookie year when he was skating with his legs almost completely upright. He's getting a little bit deeper into his stride. He still struggles to push his knees over his toes, but he's getting closer to that. His crossovers are a major issue again because of the lack of depth. But you're starting to see a little bit more extension in his strides. You're starting to see better recoveries. You're starting to see him point his toes more in the direction of travel. He does have a ton of work to do. This is not a player who is going to be an average skater in the NHL at his best outcome, most likely. He will be below average. It's just a matter of how below average is he. Is he fourth line AHLer or is he fourth line NHLer skating wise? And I think if it lands somewhere in between, it's going to be really tough to play his game in the NHL.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I really hate is when people will go, but what about this one player who overcame a weak skating stride? And it's like, well, what about the millions of Timu Polkkanens who didn't? Like everybody thinks because 1 out of 4 players who can't skate can still play.
And a lot of the narratives around it are just like people like, oh, he improved his skating so much, and then you watch the tape and you're like, this dude was like literally just learning how to toe snap properly away from figuring out how to become an NHL average skater. Like this is not the case for a Tyson Forrester level skater. Like everything needs tweak from the upper body to the ankle flexion to the crossover technique to the way he dips
upright too.
Yeah, everything.
He doesn't sit into his base. Like he's so upright.
And it's not even like he's a pretty strong dude. Like you can see it in puck battles and stuff like that. And so a big part of this is flexibility. And flexibility is really hard to improve.
Well, that's the one thing that like biomechanics, like I've spoken to some people on the team side about that, and they're like, ankle flexion is one of those things that you either have or you don't in a lot of cases.
Yeah, there are ones like Jeremy Gregoire, for example, who was Montreal Canadiens prospect, who he had major struggles with ankle flexion, but they slapped in an orthotic, and that got his heel higher up, so he was able to push more over his toes, but it didn't really help everything else around his feet. It didn't improve, it only helped the base. It didn't improve all the other issues he had.
You got the sound of Vancouver playing in the background there. Don't mind the siren if the mic's picking that up.
Do we have Calgary's pick yet?
It's just about to drop.
Connor Zary?
It's one of those great memories.
There, isn't it?
I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. If they traded down and still got, like, if they traded down and Connor Zary was their guy all along, like, that's really well done.
That's some tidy work.
Yeah, even if he's not the player I would have taken, like if you told me you could get Connor Zary plus 3rd round picks, Connor Zary plus 2nd round picks, I'd be totally into that.
I have the privilege tonight to welcome this young man to the Calgary Flames to carry on our traditions and legacy. I'll ask Flames Director of Amateur Scouting, Todd Button, to bring the jersey forward.
The Flames are really milking this. Holy crap.
The 24th selection in the 20.
You literally have 2 third-round picks.
The Calgary Flames select center Connor Zary.
Connor Zary.
Oh, okay. Is this my time to go on this long-winded spiel about the misconceptions surrounding Connor Zary? All right, so Connor Zary, he's a shooter first and foremost, perhaps not a high-end goal scorer. He's clever. He picks spots all over the net, particularly low, unique placement, that kind of stuff. He has the skill to adjust through shots, to take tricky passes, turn them into catch and releases. He's got the 2-touch, the wrist, the snap. He's got it all. He identifies pockets of space, which he does at a high but not a high-end rate, which holds him back from presumably being a 30-goal guy in the NHL. He's a strong defensive player, consistent. He's not the type of guy who's going to smoke people or rip the puck away with perfect timing. He's just a really intelligent player who stays above the play despite his skating limitations, which leads me to the big issue. His skating lacks a ton of polish, and as a third-year player in the OHL who's more physically mature than, or in the WHL, who's more physically mature than a lot of his peers, there's question about how much more it can improve. He's upright. His crossovers are very sloppy. It's tricky. And it extends to his transition game where he relies on his teammates to do the heavy lifting apart from, just walking through the odd player here or there. He's not a particularly strong distributor as well, which can be problematic. And then you look at it at 5-on-5 as a passer, and he's just not manipulating defenders. He's not deceptive. He doesn't recognize teammates in superior position. His shot has got him this far. So every time that he's under duress, he shoots. He misses teammates constantly in prime positions, and that's going to be an issue moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was like chomping at the bit to get in there and be like, but this, but then you beat me to it. It's just he can't find teammates through layers. Like he cannot distribute east-west through layers at all. Like he's a pure shooter on the power play, which is why he's going to play the wing in the NHL.
This is exactly it. It's all right. We're being told that this game is not a problem. Anyway, he's just not quick enough. He's not inside driven enough in transition to become. And he's not a good enough distributor to become a center in the NHL level. But clearly, the Calgary Flames believe in him, in his shooting ability, I think. Like, I don't see a scenario in which he's a center, or at least an effective center. And you even watch him now, and I think a lot of his best attacks originate from the perimeter. And a lot of his off-puck stuff, it's not middle lane drives. He's moving to the outside. He's slinking away and then popping back in with perfect timing. To me, that's a winger in the NHL.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, like, I don't know if you get.
He's like
that and 2 third-round picks, I'd be pretty happy with that. Sorry, you go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I find him like he's entertaining to watch too. Like he's kind of like a pest, and he does those type of things like he scores a goal, he'll taunt the crowd and stuff. So just a little ad there.
We tend to like players who have defensive value and can score, work hard. Drafted Jacob Betsy last year or the year before, I forget. They're not exactly in the same mold, but it fits their scouting identity or what they look for in players.
I'm surprised they didn't go defense, to be honest with you. But then again, Braden Schneider would have been that defenseman. So,
yeah,
there you go. That's that.
Damn, I think I'm being gaslit right now about Connor Zari's skating. All I'm seeing is that he's fast. It's not going to be an issue, and so on and so forth. Like,
I think he has some structural issues too. A bit of knee valgus, so his knees goes inside when he skates. It prevents him from accessing his outside edge when he crosses over and getting his edge far enough under his body so that he can cross the other feet and gain explosiveness. So I'm not sure how much he will improve that over the years.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very real concern. Again, it speaks to like just the lack of polish in his stride and how fixable is it. Like at some point there are limits to how much you can improve. Like I don't want to say that players aren't going to do this or they can't do that, but they're within the realm of reason. There are limits to what certain athletes can pull off just based on biomechanical issues and limitations. And I think with Zary skating, he's never going to be a burner. It's the same thing with Mercer. Like some players just were not meant to go super fast.
I mean, most players aren't meant to shoot the puck like Zary, though, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah, for sure. He does a lot of things really well.
Okay, you know who I want for Colorado? Helge Grans.
Yes.
That's what I want to happen here. Or Brendan Brisson. Could you imagine him like loading up those one-timers on the power play with like Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen? I'd be okay with that.
Gary. With the 25th pick, Colorado Avalanche are about to select from the Halifax Sets, Justin Barron.
Oh my God. Justin Barron.
You literally have the premium refined version of Justin Barron available. He's in Sweden. He looks really improved. His stride doesn't have the same exaggerated heel kick anymore. He's looking to create more offense. His name is Helge Grans, and you take the guy who is older and further behind him in development. Mind-blowing.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think it's possible that Baron does reach the NHL. He has the tools to become a shutdown defenders. He has a long reach. He skates well. Skating could improve further. Like you said, he has a heel kick and he tends to hunch over a bit. But still, there's not much else in this game. His offensive game is entirely a shot. So receive the puck at the blue line and shoots it instantly. Doesn't walk the blue line, doesn't find better shooting lanes. His puck moving game, there's no passing ability there. It's all about carrying the puck up ice, and he doesn't have the deceptiveness and even the explosiveness to manage this at the NHL level. He's far from Quinn Hughes. So the only thing that's left really that will stick to his game as he rises in level is the defensive component. Sometimes he's a good rush defender. He closes on guys. He can hit them on the board. And if he improves his war defense in his zone, I think he could be a good defensive defenseman. But I don't think he moves the puck all that well, and I don't think he will be a puck mover in the NHL level. He has some handling issues. His bottom hand is too often far down his stick, and his head is down. He doesn't see his options. He has a lot to fix, and he has, on top of all of that, he has injuries concern. He didn't play much in the past year, and I think he's out for months now too. Not that it matters too much if the Q season is delayed.
I mean, he's 6'2" and he can skate. This dude is he's gonna have to prove that he can't play. That's just the way it works for players with that skill set. And like, it's always been when he does this, when he starts doing this, when he starts doing this, when he starts doing this, he's going to be great. I mean, this is his third year in the queue, and he's not doing these things. I know he had health problems this year, and I hope that he recovers well and he turns into a great NHL player. But we have to start asking if now. And it's very questionable to me if he's ever going to add those elements to his game.
I mean, it's no Mukamadulin at 20.
No, of course not.
No.
Sorry, I just got a notification on Twitter. Somebody favoriting my tweet saying still in awe at Mukamadulin at 20. And there have been some strange picks today. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, there are always strange picks, but why wouldn't you get Helge Grans in that spot? Like, I'm upset for Helge.
Ballon is just a safe pick when there are a better version of him available, like you guys said. You might get
Barron's never going to be more than a fifth.
But if you just project Helge Grant's game just slightly, even if he doesn't reach his high potential, he will still fall to the level of a bottom pairing defender. So I don't see it.
The strange pick. I don't get it at all. He's did anybody have a good viewing of Justin Barron this year?
Yes, I had a great one. Yeah, his first game back from the blood clot was February 26th, and he was very impressive that game, apart from 2 really bad transition plays. But that was probably the best game I've ever seen him play, and I've been watching Halifax pretty consistently for 3 years. I thought he looked awesome, and that was like the glimpse of what he could become. But that glimpse was still a lower end number 4.
Yeah, I didn't get one good viewing, and every time I watched Barron, it was like, and turnover in the slot, and turnover in transition, and turnover, and awful puck decision, and awful puck management, and he's trying to force plays that aren't there, and I mean, the most generous way one could read that is that he's trying to do too much because his team sucked ass. But
that's certainly a factor. But I went into this year thinking that Ballon was going to bring more offense into his draft year, but he just stayed the same point shooter, and he doesn't do it well. His shot has power. He aims for a stick a bit, and he keeps it low, but it just hits the defender's shin pads too often. He needs to move laterally.
Yeah, there's nothing really exceptional about his shooting. Like, he has better mechanics than a lot of his peers. Like, we see him take in stride wristers, for example, when he's gaining the zone. But there just isn't this. It's hard to justify. Same thing with Amarov, right? It's hard to justify that level of shot volume when your shot is more of like a 2.5 shot attempt per game player rather than like a 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, that's exaggerating it, but still.
Wait a second. Igor Chinikov went ahead of Dmitry Reshevsky. That is an act of violence against elite prospects, and I won't let this aggression stand.
Have you guys seen Reshevsky in the VHL this year? Have you tuned in a game or 2 of that?
No, not yet. I've seen highlights though.
He's very good. I think we hit that one quite well. He looks fantastic.
Oh, Mitch, this is all you. Jake Neighbors to St. Louis.
Are you over Greg? Over Greg.
Wow.
Is this for real? My stream's behind.
It's for real. It's Jake Neighbors to St. Louis. Ugh.
What do you get when you take Jake Virtanen, remove the shot and the speed?
Jake Neighbors?
Correct. So Jake Neighbors this dude is an immovable object. unfortunately, he doesn't move very quickly himself. So he ends up stuck in these endless loops where he's just skating in straight lines along the boards, and then someone skates into him really quick because they're like, oh, vulnerable target, and then they end up flat on the ice. He's not particularly creative or skilled, whatever you would like to say. He is, however, after gaining that zone, quite good as a passer. He's pretty good on the backhand as well. He's very good at moving the puck across his body while keeping his head up and his shoulders oriented towards the net so he can see the plays around him. He can feather pucks through small seams. He can get them through and tight. He's a pretty strong shooter as well. He just doesn't use it. Again, the issue is there has been virtually no growth for him as a skater over the past few years. He once seemed to be this very powerful, strong, budding athlete. And in the years since, there's been limited improvement. And now he's probably a league, WHL that is, average skater. And that's not good enough to be the player that he wants to be in the NHL. Like you can't be just trying to burn guys to the outside constantly when you're going to be a below average skater in the NHL. I appreciate his physicality. I appreciate how hard he works. I just don't think that it's going to be anything more than a fourth liner, to be completely honest. We had him as a no draft for those reasons and more. I just can't envision a situation where a guy who doesn't know how to use his shot, a guy who doesn't get into scoring position to fire, a guy who makes poor decisions in every way feasible, from forcing a pass to taking a dumb penalty to blowing D-zone coverage for no apparent reason. It's difficult to see him as being anything more than a fourth liner. I don't get this pick. I wish him the best, and I think St. Louis has historically done a good job, but there's just not a ton of reasons to be excited about this pick. I mean, just look at how Sportsnet is saying his strengths are work ethic and physicality. We're not in 1980s anymore, guys. Come on.
That would be awesome to read if we were talking about like a 9th rounder.
Shock as a comparable.
Yeah.
Like if you get Jake Neighbors in the 5th round, this is a very projectable pro frame who has he has the pedigree, he has some skills to build off of. But in the 1st round, this is just a total blatant, like this is just poor asset management from my perspective. And again, I wish him
way
the best,
too early.
But this is not something that I can get behind. Like, best case scenario, he's a 4th liner, and he's going to bring some unique elements to the game. Kudos to him for that. He's a bit of a throwback guy in that way, but I just don't see it. I end my rant. Especially over Greg. Like, Greg kind of has some similar flaws, but at least with Greg, you have tangible proof of concept skill improvement through deception, his clever releases. Like, how do you... you got to take Greg in that spot. If you want to go for that type of player, you got to take Greg. You have to. I can't believe I'm sitting here. Someone has to take Ridley, but if you're going to go for Neighbors, why not take the premium version?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would 100% be way more on board with Ridley Gregg in that spot. Like 100%. And like Neighbors is so undisciplined too. Like, how many stupid dumbass penalties did he take last year?
Yeah, and it doesn't just apply to the discipline part. Doesn't just apply to penalties, right? You see it in every facet of his game, like the lack of discipline when he's exiting the zone, the lack of control for when he's trying to make plays to the neutral zone, just everything. When you see a player like that, when you question decision making and it translates across all the different spectrums of the game, it goes from being less of a, hey, we can improve this thing or improve this one specific scenario, and more of okay, maybe this player just isn't what we're looking for in terms of, hockey sense, IQ, decision making, however you want to describe it.
Jacob Perreault, and it was pronounced with the David St. Louis affect by the assistant general manager of the Anaheim Ducks.
All right, can we get someone to edit this part out?
Edit which part out? My French Canadian accent?
Yes.
I think it's great. But
you know what David, I think is great? Jacob Perreault in this spot.
Is it the pick?
Jacob Perreault to the Ducks. This is a good pick. I'm totally on board with this.
Drysdale and Perot is a good haul for them. For the first round.
All right, so let's talk some Perot here. He has a killer shot from any angle, from long range, from short range, doesn't matter. He's a legitimate scoring threat. And I think he has the off-puck awareness, the sense to figure out how to do it in the NHL as well. His playmaking has taken a significant leap, not just in terms of raw volume, but because he plays off the threat of a shot. He's figured out that defenders react to his mere presence on the ice, and he starts finding teammates over on the other side. He has gravitational pull by virtue of being so lethal from anywhere. Then you also have to look at his transition game, which has improved again immensely. He's not the type of player who's going to push himself pace-wise, but he has a strong skating base that has been masked by his, sort of low-pace, patient style. And I think as we see him get pushed more and more, he's going to start unlocking it.
The gravitational pull thing is something I definitely saw in my couple of viewings of him. It was like very apparent.
David, are you still here? Can you talk about his skating for a little bit? You had some great points earlier on it.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit disappointed after all that debate we had about Jacob Perot versus the way he was saying it, and then he just disappears when Perot gets picked.
I'm here.
This is your moment. You win.
Yeah. When we look at to know if players are going to improve their skating, it's all about the mechanics. Do they bend their limbs at the right angles? Do they achieve a knee bend, ankle flexion? Do they hunch over, or are they able to maintain their back in an upright but slightly angled forward angle? And Jacob Bale does all of that pretty well. So I think maybe it's just a strength issue. When a player has good mechanics, when he adds strength, it transfers to a lot more speed because that strength can be utilized more. So I think Jacob Bale is going to end up an above average NHL skater in a few years with some gym training and just continue to work on his skating mechanics too. So if you add speed with his killer shot and really make plays sometimes under pressure very quickly, I think you've got maybe a top 6 forward there.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, I think this is a really good bet from Anaheim here. And as Cam Robinson pointed out, Trevor Zegras passing to Perot. Oh boy, sign me up for that.
They are going to kill on the cycle. Like Perot's off the puck instincts got so much better over the course of the year. He was like pretty much I don't know, at least in my viewings, he was a bit of a one-trick pony off the rush to start the year, but by the end of the season, he actually kind of really developed into somebody who could produce off of sustained zone time too. Yeah. I don't know. I love this pick. I'm on board.
For sure. One of my favorite little plays that he does is he'll, speaking of the gravitational pull thing, he'll come in, then fake the shot, and the defender will freak out trying to panic, and then he'll throw the shot after he gets the defender off balance and pull that puck and shoot right through them. It's a really nasty play, and he's got so many different shots that he can use in the NHL. If you're looking for someone who could turn into a 30-goal guy at this point in the draft, he might be the best bet. No disrespect to Brisson and Bork, who are right there with him.
He changes the angle on those shots too. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like built right into his release. Every shot, he changes the angle.
And like you said earlier, it's like any distance too. Yeah.
That really awesome one where he's at the goal line and then he pulls it from below the goal line to just above it during the release and throws that thing in. He scored a couple of goals like that. Yeah. He's a full threat.
I mean, in terms of long range shooters, he's no Lucas Reichel. the next Mike Hoffman. All right, who's next? Oh, Ottawa. This is Tyler Clevin territory. Yep. I need this to happen just so my scoop is right. Let's see.
They're gonna pull a New Jersey where they just undo all the good work they've done so far.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Is this the time they take Ridley Gregg? Is this Ridley Gregg's time now?
Oh yeah, I just made soy face because I'm like, hell yeah. I'm on board with that. Wow, their head scout making the pick looks really pissed off. Ridley Gregg. Ridley and Gregg. That is an awful pick. Like, we knew somebody was going to pick him in the first round, but that is an awful pick. Holy crap.
They made him into a pillow, JD.
Did they?
Yeah, his grandma was holding a pillow with his.
Holy crap. Yeah, I saw that. You know what? Ottawa Senators fans, all those years where I said I tried to talk you out of being upset with your team's picks, this is not one of those years for this pick. That's they left a lot of talent on the board. Oh boy. Mitch, you got any did Mitch just bounce?
He couldn't handle it.
Okay, well, I will pick up on Ridley Gregg. Really interesting projection, improved a lot over the course of the year. I guess the big thing that's in his corner is he did a lot with a little, didn't have a ton of support in Brandon. He's not the greatest skater, doesn't play with a ton of pace. He's got some good puck skills, but as a distributor, he's fairly limited. I don't know. I mean, the long-term bet with Ridley Gregg is that you're going for like a fourth line center. You're going for a shutdown piece. I don't think that's what you should be drafting for at this stage in the draft. This is not the player I'd be going with.
Again, there's so many more players with higher upside left on the board. We just have, I think the teams must hate players who lack pace, because Madrid Book is still on there and does pretty much everything better than Gregg, except maybe his intensity on a given night. And Brissot also has some skating issues, but he's a great problem solver. He can make plays in tight, and his shot is one of the best in the draft, just like Bork's. We might actually see Tyler Clevin before the end of this first round. I think team seems to like their safer picks. They want a player out of their first round pick. Seems like.
I am just, I'm astonished. Why can't these teams just do 3 good picks in a row? Is that too much to ask for?
Maybe.
Fair.
Stutzla, Sanderson, and Brisson would have been pretty nice.
It would have been awesome.
That would have been.
I just don't get it, because they still have a clear need at center too. It's not like they can afford to make a luxury pick. Like Logan Brown, I loved his work this year in the AHL. Fantastic distributor, surprisingly good small ice game. But there's a chance they have to trade him because he's so sick of Ottawa to begin with. Then you got Drake Batherson, who's struggled a bit to translate to the NHL. Like, this is a team who desperately could use a Brendan Brisson, could desperately use a Maverick Bork, could desperately use a did I mention Brisson yet? I've done so many radio hits and streaming today. I'm like on my last legs. It's just I can't make sense of this pick. I truly can't.
And there's still Jeremy Poirier on the board. Healthy grounds.
Yeah.
There's plenty of players with super high upside, but they're just more risky. I don't even call them risky at this point in the draft. Just if you have a great player who might end up as a flawed bottom pairing defenseman, but you just drafted a flawed
Gunler's
player.
Gunler. Gunler would be interesting.
Even if they don't reach their upside, there's a chance that it can fall back to a lesser role. I guess Gunler might be a top 6 or nothing kind of player, and Jimmy Poirier might just be a second power play quarterback and a shelter defenseman on a bottom pairing if it doesn't work out. But he has potential for much more, especially if you can work with him to improve his skating. If he can improve his skating, his defensive game will grow because he will be able to skate backwards and intercept the rush, which he can't do right now and still can't do. But he doesn't have the development help of an NHL team. So I think they're just more upside picks. And especially for Ottawa, they had 3 first-round picks. So why not take another swing at the end of the first round instead of I guess they like their safer picks at the end of the first round because they drafted Shane Pinto in years before and also Bernard Docker. So that might be a pick in the same vein. But if I were them, I would go for high upside every time.
All right, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Holy crap, look at that room. Well, I guess that's what happens when you're Pat Brisson's kid. Brendan Brisson is going to the Vegas Golden Knights. Joey, this is your moment. This is a phenomenal pick.
Yeah, I mean it's a steal. This late in the draft. I know we had him as our first U.S. forward. He becomes the first U.S. forward taken off the draft, taken off the board, and Brisson's game with respect to just his skill and his problem solving ability, especially in the offensive zone, is what really makes him special. We had some concerns about his skating, but I relayed to Mitch that in like my live viewings of him, I thought that he was actually, I'm just seeing the room now. Oh my goodness.
Right? It's like a palisade.
Yeah, like a convention hall. But no, I think he's got some deceptive elements to his skating off the rush. Just a really crafty offensive player, whether it's finding his guy, whether it's finding teammates or doing it all himself. He really is just a gifted offensive talent. There's one of my concerns. He definitely benefited from the talent around him. He was on a very good Chicago Steel team, and I think that's you can't ignore that. And he'll be going to a stacked Michigan program, but he's a guy who seems to have enough skill and seems to be able to create enough for himself independently that shouldn't be a problem. And then it would be remiss of me, of course, and this is something JD can touch on a little more. The one-timer is a huge asset of his. He really is exceptional at just kind of contorting his body around where he receives the puck and still just wiring it on net. So overall, just you're going to get a ton of utility from getting this kid 29th overall. Vegas is getting a good one here.
Oh, for sure. This is, in terms of value, this is up there with Dawson Mercer. For me, it's a better value pick than Dawson Mercer. Like I had him at 10 on my board. I'm probably the highest on Brisson of pretty much anybody in the public sphere. But I just think, like, if you're trying to project who is going to break through and have a ton of upside at the next level, it's offensive instincts for me that helps dictate that. And like the subtle skills, his offensive instincts are both at such a high level that it's so easy to project him playing high in an NHL lineup. I don't know. It's crazy to me that he was available at 29. It's just absurd.
I think Dallas is going to take JJP. I think it's finally JJP's time.
That would be interesting. I could get behind that. That I would have a ton of time for that, actually. Or What about Maverick Bork? No, I mean, he's going to fall to the second round. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
I am shocked that all of Mercer, Brisson, Bork fell outside the top, like 17.
Yeah, every single one. Do you think this is kind of like instructive in terms of what the NHL values? Because they all have pretty similar concerns. You know, they all have, to varying degrees, pace issues. Like, they all need to work on their skating. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to imagine it's coincidence that they were the ones who all dropped. Oh, you know what just occurred to me? How does Vegas do this? Last year, they get Peyton Krebs at 17. Messed up. That should not happen. NHL teams should not allow Peyton Krebs to be there at 17.
Yeah.
This year, they get Brendan Brisson at 29. Like, why does the NHL work so hard to make life easy on the Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, the Krebs thing was the ACL, right? Like, everybody was worried about the ACL. Because I will say, like, I felt bad.
Achilles.
Okay, which is actually, like, that's a nasty injury. But like, I don't know. I felt for that kid watching him, like, try to hobble up on stage. Like, that was kind of brutal to watch. But yeah, no. Whatever happened to Cody Glass?
He's on his way. Like, I think he'll be a full-time player next year for sure. I'm surprised it's taken him so long, but I think that's just a reflection of how much talent Vegas has, more so than on Cody Glass.
Right.
I wonder what Dallas is going to do. They're so all over the place. Like, finding a pattern with Dallas is impossible.
I think it's
Maverick Bork. Wow.
Finally.
There we go.
Finally.
About time.
Finally.
The right pick. I should have been the right pick. 15 picks earlier.
Well, like, so, what, 15 picks earlier?
Yeah. So, Bork, he has one of the best shots in the draft. He can release from one timer, from wrist shot, catch and release, and two-touch it on that too. I've even seen him make some great backhand, and he's one of the smartest players in the draft too. So he always connecting the players of his teammates. He's the one bouncing the puck from defensive end to the offensive end and showing again. I'm not sure what that team would do if he wasn't there, honestly. It didn't have much offensive support last year, and it still managed to score a ton of points. I think he had like maybe 15 or 20 more points than his next closest teammate. So at the NHL level, he might be a center, he might be a winger. He can do both, actually, because he's so aware of the ice. He can handle back pressure, and he can also he has a good off-puck game. So his defensive game isn't developed yet, but he played so much last year. He had so many minutes on the ice that he had to pace himself a bit, for sure. So I think this year we see him improve his defensive game to the point where there's no question that he can be a center at the NHL level. And also he should score even more, because the thing with Bork is he's always improving. He's always adding things to his game. Mitch talked earlier about the way he developed his playmaking ability. So he went into his draft here as a pure shooter almost, and just added a passing game that featured deception and some angle changes, just backhand. He can make saucer passes too. And he sees the plays develop ahead of time too. So he can slow down. He doesn't have a lot of pace right now, but he can still manipulate it. So he can slow down against defender, open up space for teammates, attract defenders on him. Maybe not to the level of some of the best playmakers in the draft, but you see that he has all the elements. And since he's always improving, I think he will grow and grow and grow and become one of the better players out of this draft.
Yeah, he's a pretty awesome offensive player who was just, when you talk about adding elements to your game, most players learn to pass a little bit more. He became one of the best passers in the draft class. Like, you just don't make that level of improvement in such a short time without being incredibly hardworking, incredibly adaptable and talented. And this to me is like back-to-back picks now where it's just larcenous. He has top 6 upside. He's such an impressive, well-rounded player, and they're talking about strength and face-offs again. My goodness. Anyway,
I saw that. His comparable is apparently Jeff Skinner.
Yeah, that's
Jeff. What? He doesn't skate that well. Maybe at a shot, I guess, but Skinner's whole game is eluding defender and slipping in front to elevate the top net. So that's really not Bork at all.
Bork's skating has improved in the early stages of this season. He looks a fair bit faster, actually, and I think it largely comes from that when he recovers his leg under his body, when he starts his next stride, he's no longer pointing his toes outwards. He keeps them pointed in the direction of travel, which increases his glide time. It makes him a little bit more efficient, which means he's able to squeeze out a little bit more speed for what he's putting into it. I can't believe it. I can't believe that he's 30th overall. That's all.
Brendan Brisson is no longer the best value bet in this first round. It's Maverick Bork, just by default. That's what an amazing pair of picks.
I think this, like 27, 29, 30, and to a lesser extent 18 have all been really, really good like value picks relative to, like, not just relative to our board, but if we're talking about players who you're gambling on to hit to become high upside guys, those are the types of players you want to be banking on. The Perreaults, the Mercers, the Brissons, the Borks.
I still mystified by that Grieg pick. I think I'm gonna write best and worst picks of the first round, and I think that one might qualify.
It's one of those things where I think like Greg at 28 is like tolerable in a vacuum. Obviously, it wouldn't have been the pick that I would make, but then you consider that to do that, you passed on Brisson and Bork. And that's where I think it gets really dicey.
Criminal.
It's obviously different if you're passing on like if you're passing on some lower level like first round guy like JJP. But when you're passing on that level of talent, it looks a lot worse. And that's the same thing for the Devils and the Devils pick and Columbus's pick and so on.
Wow, the Sharks just took Ozzy Weisblatt, Reese Visibility.
That's a pretty good pick.
That's interesting. I like that pick.
I love it. I absolutely love this pick. This is phenomenal. He's so pacey, so fast, so aggressive, gets to the inside. He's one of the best transition distributors in the draft class. Very impressive stuff. He continues to improve his shot. He has a good understanding of how to get into the scoring areas and how to pull the trigger, but it's simply been getting him to properly shift his weight across his body, pull the trigger, improve his two-touch catch and release type shots. They're all getting better. I don't know if he's a top 6 guy, but as a third line do-it-all winger I mean, I guess there's a chance he could be center. Like, he is really inside driven, right? But I think with his game, he's more likely to end up on the wing, that he's just a matchup pest and just grinds it out, creates a ton of chances, overwhelms the opposition.
I need to remember to mute my mic while I'm typing. This is a great pick.
Family's fired up. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Who is?
Popped off.
His family. They like mobbed him. They're like on the floor.
Oh yeah. You know what? They probably did not expect him to go in this range. to be honest. That's probably why they're so stoked. I did not hear a lot about Wii Splat to the first. This totally caught me off guard. I had heard that Topi Nimula might be the pick here, and I'm glad I didn't tweet that out because I would have looked hilariously wrong. But wow. So who are some of the players that
did you guys catch? Sorry, did you guys catch that? Doug Wilson Jr. signed Ozzy Weisblatt's name because his mom is hearing impaired.
Oh, that's so
nice.
cool.
Yeah, cool.
The Weisblatt story is really phenomenal. There are the four brothers and the sister. Really, really impressive stuff. There's a great story on The Athletic about it. I highly recommend checking it out. Easy to root for.
Doug Wilson, what a sweetheart. That's so
awesome.
cool. That is so cool. I thought he was just we got another shout out on the broadcast. Sorry, that always gets me. I didn't know the story about his mother with the being hard of hearing, and that just, my little heart. That's so cool. That's so cool. So many awful people in hockey. It's great when you get a moment like that. You know what I mean? How many terrible stories have we heard, and then you get a moment like that, and it's like, yeah, no, hockey is still good. Hockey is still very good. And of course, it's Doug Wilson Jr. too, one of the best guys in the industry. All right, round table. I'm going to go get a beer, and then we're going to go through our favorite picks. And then I'm going to go sprint to right and maybe eat. I should probably do that at some point today. All right, you got 30 seconds to think on this. I'll be right back.
This is a great story. You can't help but love this kid. Great kid. He's honest about himself. He's open. He's transparent, and he is a.
If any of you have beer, I would really appreciate if you join me for a toast. I think we deserve that after the work that we put in this year. I don't know what they drink in Sweden. Christopher, you will have to get a pitcher of Malort.
I have some pineapple juice.
Hell yeah. How do you pronounce it? Is it Malort or? They drink this in Chicago, Joey. Yeah. I know you technically have never drank before, I'm sure, but you've had some Malort, am I right?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, there's the Spirit. It's like it's similar to Brenneman. Oh man, when you go back to Chicago at 21, of course, you have to try Malort. It's very interesting, and it's like a Chicago regional specialty. Like if I were to go into like a BC liquor store, I would never find Malort. Chicago, that's one of the shots that I had a bunch of when I was in town for the draft, and it's apparently from Sweden. This is the best tweet ever. Okay, so I put out, it's so bizarre that Maverick Bork, Brendan Brisson, and Helge Grans are still available. This was about a half hour ago. Somebody responds to me, a guy on Excel, less than NHL scouts and GMs.
What does that mean?
I have the clue that NHL teams are infallible.
Like, I'm not even like directly criticizing anyone. Just Twitter never fails. I am becoming more like black pilled on Twitter. I'm a year away from going like full Mitch on Twitter and just poking my head in like once a week.
It's better this way, trust me. I sometimes just like to go on Twitter and just read all the garbage, have a good laugh, and then close it down for the day. and then respond to David's DMs, of course.
Which you do multiple times per day.
Yeah. Holy moly. So Jarmo Kekalainen said they had Igor Chinnikov in their top 10.
What?
Why?
According to this is from Aaron Portsline of The Athletic. He also said that another team, Eastern Conference, had Igor Chinnikov
28th.
as their 28th overall on their board.
Why?
Because NHL teams are infallible, that's why. Go to the game. Stop looking at a spreadsheet, you nerd. Then you understand why Chinnikov is amazing.
What is happening? How? What? I thought Chinnikov was like fine in my limited viewings, but not. Oh boy. Oof. Okay, so did anybody else get a beer?
Yeah.
David, thank you. I knew I could rely on you. Robert Love's mic isn't working. Oh, that would explain why he didn't chime in when I asked him how he felt about the Lucas Raymond pick. That would do it. Rob, we've got like another 5 minutes here, and then I need to sign off and do some writing. But my favorite pick of the first round, I'm going to be on brand because I know that at least 2 or 3 of you are going to say Maverick Bork. So I'm going to say Brendan Brisson. For me, that was the value pick of the draft. I mean, like, he's got number 1 center upside. I'm not rating his chances of hitting it as especially high, but I think he has it within his capability to get there. And that for me at 29, hell of a pick.
18 player, 19 player drafter selected off of CHL teams this year, including a run of 7 straight, 22.
No, nobody else.
For me, my favorite pick of the draft was Seth Jarvis going to Carolina at number 13 overall. Of course, it's not a super value maximizing pick or whatever, but I think stylistically, there are a few better fits in the draft than Jarvis going to Carolina. He's going to overwhelm you with pace. He's going to beat you to the middle. He's going to beat you to the net. He's a dual threat potential attacker. I think he's a perfect fit for what Carolina is trying to build. He fits the mold of their high upside swings. And my second favorite one was Ozzy Weisblatt going 31 overall. That's a great story. He's going to make the NHL, and he's going to be a great player.
All right. What about you, Daniel? Who's your favorite?
Probably Shakir. I do like the fact that JT Miller was traded for Shakir. That's very funny to me. But
Yes.
It's probably Marco Rossi at 9. You kind of hit the nail on the head where we talked about it kind of before the live stream, but he's, a first line talent slipping to 9. I think it's perfect for Minnesota. Perfect for what they're trying to build their team into. Good first pick by Judd Brackett and co.
Yeah, I'm gonna sing the praise.
Okay. You go ahead, David.
I might steal Christopher's pick. I'm gonna sing the praise of the Red Wings. I didn't expect Raymond to go this early, but I think it was the right choice. Like I said before, he might not be a centerman that they're looking for, but he's going to be a play-driving winger, and it's almost just as good. So great on them for recognizing that even if he played limited minutes the year before, it didn't mean that he was less effective or anything. I think that this year, Raymond will show them that they made the right pick. And of course, Dawson Mercer, he shouldn't have fell as hard as he did. It didn't fall a lot, but still, he's probably projected as a centerman, next level. He has defensive value. He's a great handler. I think the Devils will have a great team in the future, the way they're building right now.
All right, Christopher, which Swede or non-Swede did you like to see going first?
There were only 2 Swedes drafted. I was actually talking with a friend of mine that also scouts, and somewhere around 20 we started to be like, Yeah, there might not be any other Swedes that are getting drafted in the first round. So yeah, Lucas Raymond, of course, as number 4. I think he could become a top 3 or top 2 player from this draft. So that will be my pick. I think the Hots pick is good as well. Besides that, there weren't many Euros getting picked, and yeah, right goal, but that was way too early in my mind. So better luck tomorrow, I hope. And I'm going to head to bed as well. It's 5 in the night here, so I'm gonna get ready for tomorrow.
Well, Christopher, you are absolutely allowed to leave. You're a trooper, man. You're a trooper. Joey, which pick did you like?
Yeah.
I feel like it would be silly of me to say anybody but Brendan Brisson as well. I think, he was a guy we singled out as just really high octane offensively, just a ton of a really high ceiling if he's able to fill out and maybe round out a little bit of his game. And I also think just in terms considering the team, like Vegas getting a player like that, given how late they were picking, and especially given kind of they haven't been able to get a ton of really high end prospects given the success that they've had. I feel like this in the last few years, I think they really get a steal and a guy who's